Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here. It is Tuesday, and we had some major bullshit go down last night. Yeah. I'm sure all of you pretty much feel the same way that I do right now in a lot of ways. We got cheated, we got robbed, and in a lot of ways, the league is just going to poo-poo it and go right over it, and they're not going to do anything about it because this is just business as usual. This league has a big problem. And it really is that there's certain referees that are above the game, above the league, above the what's supposed to be the job. And I really do feel like at this point, the issue here is that Scott Foster is such a dirty ref that he is actually holding the league hostage at this point. That he listen, he stayed clear of the Tim Donaghy stuff probably because he's like, you know what, listen, NBA, you bring me down, I'm gonna take the whole league down. I'll bet you he done some shit like that because there's no reason why, with how horrible he's been a ref since the mid 2000s, that the NBA would keep him around this long when they know that he is a problem, when they know he has linkages to Tim Donaghy in the betting scandal. They would have got rid of him, but they can't. They probably can't because he has information. He has things about the league that will completely destroy the league. And they are keeping him happy and keeping him employed because they know that he has this. I'm going to bet that that is what it is because this is insane. This is absolutely insane what happened last night. We can go through the whole thing about it. First of all, I don't want anybody talking shit about our Raptors because they did not do a single damn thing wrong last night. And if you see beside me, that's not Outback Jack who represents the Denver Nuggets. This guy right here. I didn't put the team over there to represent beating us. I put the referee over there to beat us. Because that's really the way I look at it. Jokic, Nuggets, y'all didn't beat us last night. Y'all did not beat us. We beat the shit out of y'all. We were cruising. We were on our way to win this game. In fact, that is why Scott Foster had to do it in such an abrupt, highly observable moment because they were trying to fuck us up the whole time, but we were managing the game really well with Fred and different people, and we were on track to win this game. And we were very much going to win this game. And he had to go that far, so far that he threw a player out really quick. You know, listen, we can talk about Draymond Green and all the shit he gets away with talking on the court. We can talk about all these players like LeBron that talk so much shit during the game, but you don't dare throw them out. And you don't even give him one technical. You just eject him right away. That is so fishy as fuck. And you know what he did? Listen, this is all Scottie did. I'm like, oh my gosh. All he did was mutter under his breath. He wasn't even talking to him. And I know he probably said something about his cheating ass. Your cheating ass is probably what he said. And Scott was like maybe a little too sensitive to that because he knows it's true. And he was like, yeah, you know, see, that's the thing, Scott. When you have such an emotional outburst, Scott Foster, not Barnes, you betray your guilt. You betray your guilt when you get so upset when somebody, this is all right. First of all, let me read this because this is important. This is from the interview after the game. In case you guys don't know, the referees do get interviewed after the game by a local reporter, and they get to ask questions about things that happen. Well, this is the pool report from last night. Vinny Benedetto of the Colorado Springs Gazette was the person asking the questions. Well, first he asked about the challenge call with Nikola and Scottie Barnes that went in the favor of the Nuggets, which was bullshit. We had two challenges late in the game, one by us and one by them, and we lost ours and they won theirs. And it was really kind of fucked up, the one with Nikola and Scottie. But that was, you know, okay, that's a little bit of fucked up shit. But we could have survived that, and we did. But then this part. All right, here's the question. Why was Scottie Barnes ejected at the end of the game? Scott Foster says he was ejected on one technical foul because he used verbiage which directly questioned the integrity of the crew. You know what, Scott Foster, he doesn't have to say anything to directly, sully the integrity of the crew. Just you existing on the crew sullies the integrity of the crew because of all your fucking baggage and just who you are and how consistently you were involved in games like this throughout your pretty much your whole career. Man, you were, oh my gosh, I am so mad at Scott Foster right now. And I mean, we can go more and more into this. I'd love to be able to focus on the game, but everything about the game that matters happened at the end of the game with Scott Foster, and it mattered because of Scott Foster. He determined this game last night. He determined this game. Nobody else did. Not Jokic, not Jamal Murray, not Fred or Pascal. Scott Foster determined this game. He decided the game. He saw that the Nuggets have such a great home record. They're the number one Western team. The Raptors had dominated them the whole game, were pretty much beating them the whole damn game. And he knew that that wasn't part of the script. Maybe he had some personal slips on the game last night himself, and that he needed them to cover or at least win or something. I can say that. I can question his integrity all I want because I'm a fan. I'm not involved in the NBA, and I'm gonna say this shit that Fred wishes he could say. I'm gonna say this shit that Nick wishes he could say after the game. I question the integrity when Scott Foster is just present. It doesn't have to be young Scott Wayne Barnes with an outburst at the end of the game to question the integrity of Scott Foster because it's very well documented that he was talked to by Tim Donaghy many, many, many times during the gambling scandal. And like some people have said on Twitter, he talked to him more than I talked to my parents on the phone during a period of time that back in the day. Oh my gosh. All right, let me get the comments because I know y'all want to vent too. And I want to make sure that we get all sides of things. Some comments were written late last night after the game, but they did not survive to this morning because the first comment I've got is at 7:45 this morning from Nameless. So unfortunately, everybody who commented right after the game last night, I apologize. I'm not going to read your comments because I don't have them. I don't have them here anymore, unfortunately. So let's see. It may be that I may not need to like check them after the game. I think I went and looked at them, and when I look at them, they erase or something. I don't know. Nameless is here. I think we should all consider boycotting the league. The biggest covert, not it's not covert. That's overt. That is overt, Nameless. The biggest overt hit job I've ever seen. Incognito until the last few minutes. Sneak attack to hijack the game. All right. Listen, how you feel about boycotting the game is exactly how I felt after the 2018 season finished. The way they railroaded us in that series with Cleveland, with DeMar, the last year he was here, pissed me off. Because it was very obvious that the referees were having a huge impact on the outcomes of the game. They were helping LeBron. They were hurting us. They weren't calling any fouls. They were very much directing the game and hurting us as much as possible because we were actually doing pretty good at times. But they wanted to make sure that we lost. So I knew how crooked it was in that series and how bad the refs were like really, really impacting the game that I said that summer, I said, I don't fucking want to watch anymore. It's like, what's the point? What's the point? The referees are going to be crooked and they're going to railroad us to losses. They're going to do shit like this. Why am I even watching the NBA? That's how I felt that summer, the summer of 2018. And I even wrote a bunch of stuff online. It's like, well, the Golden State Warriors have gotten DeMarcus Cousins. Now, why do we even watch? We know that they're penciled in to be the champs again this year, a three-peat. Why even bother watching the NBA season this year? You know, and in some ways, I do feel you right now, Nameless. Why fucking even bother watching when it's a crooked ass league that's fucked up and full of shit? And honestly, you know, this is really bad. Like what happened last night is really bad, and we'll know it, the Raptors fans. But the sad thing is, the rest of the NBA will not notice it, or they'll poo-poo it, or they'll look past it, or they won't put it on blast. You know, if you read the recap from last night, they make it sound like the Nuggets beat our ass and they deserve to win last night. They, you know, there's all kinds of stupid shit that's already covering it up. Like Brian Windhorst this morning, he's already got an article out on the game last night. This is Brian Windhorst, our favorite finger man on ESPN, saying this: with 3 minutes to play and up by 6 points Monday night, the Toronto Raptors were in a great position to get a terrific victory. And you're damn right we were, Brian, and we should have until Scott Foster did some shit. But it's really interesting that you barely mentioned Scott Foster in here. But they had a problem. They were playing the Denver Nuggets at the end of a close game in Denver. You know what the problem is, Brian Windhorst, is that Nikola Jokic is a golden boy and he gets all kinds of crazy ass calls favorable for them. There was so much shit that was fucked up with the calls in the last 3 minutes of the game, favoring Jokic and favoring him in weird ways. Nick Nurse talked about in his press conference after the game. He's exactly damn right. They gave him that double MVP treatment. And even though they were doing that shit to him, we were still managing the game and winning. Sure, we can blame Pascal for missing a couple shots late. We can blame guys for doing this or that, but they didn't really do anything wrong. Everything the Raptors did yesterday was fantastic. They did so many good things throughout the whole entire game. They shot 50%. They did so many good things throughout the whole entire game. And it all gets taken away because there's a crooked ass ref that railroads them to a loss right at the end of the game. That there's no reason for them to throw Scottie out. I can understand one technical maybe, but throwing him out, ejecting him, you saw the look on Robert Hussey's face after he made that call. He looked like, what is going on? And he was shocked at what Scott Foster had just done, not what Scottie did. It's like you watch that whole replay, that little instant when the text called and the ejection, Robert Hussey is just as shocked as Scottie is about what Scott Foster is doing. Oh my gosh, this is so fucked up. So fucked up. So let me finish the story. Obviously, I didn't stop watching the Raptors just because I felt disenchanted with them after the playoffs in 2018. And we won the championship the next year. I don't know. This is so fucked up. In some ways, it makes you wonder, how can we ever win another championship again if we know that they can blatantly, very, very much control the game without any kind of chance for us? It makes you wonder why we even fucking watch. Really, seriously. Tristan's here. Good to see Tristan. I was really happy with how we played. We looked like last year. The ending was egregious. So egregious. We really did look really good. In fact, I thought we looked better than last year. There's things with Jakob, they're just badass. And I kind of wish I wasn't so tainted in my mind with just thinking about Foster and this bullshit, and that I could actually enjoy reviewing this game and talking about it without just like that thing being so paramount in my head that it's just like it doesn't even fucking matter any of that shit. Because in some ways it was wiped away in some ways, which is kind of fucked up. But let me do this in defiance. The 3 stars of the game for me last night. Fred was really good last night. He was kind of managing the game really, really well. Really, really smart. 21 points, 14 assists, 3 of 9 from 3-point range, 2 steals. He was great. He was great. His stats don't look super, super good, or they, in some ways, like the shooting 5 of 12 and the 5 turnovers. But he really was on the down low really, really good last night. He was a big, huge factor in why we played so well and should have won last night. Jakob was really good too. 9 of 13, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I'm really happy with him. He's one of the 3 stars for sure too. And then it gets a little murky after that. I'm going to go with Gary Trent Jr. as the other third star with 6 of 9 off the bench. 1 rebound and 13 points. Now, he could have got more, obviously. And I know Jordan Bolton was upset because he wasn't out there in crunch time, but he did get out there after the ejection. But yeah, we really were cruising on the way there. And I felt like Poeltl was being such a good presence. OG's defense was amazing. Pascal was meh, but he did enough to contribute and help and carry during the game. 8 of 18, 1 of 2 from 3. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 19 points. Just a good team effort all around. Achua is much better in this game. 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Boucher was fine. We saw Barton hit a couple of shots and play nice to see. I just thought that the whole team was clicking really well, working off each other really well. The actions in the lane with how we were getting to Poeltl and using Poeltl was fantastic. You can see how our future is really, really bright. The way our offense was working last night. If we can get that kind of effort consistently night after night, we're going to win a lot of games. And even Scott Foster won't be able to railroad all of the games against us. So yeah, this team is really nasty. Our team is really good. We just took the top team in the Western Conference, one of the best teams in the league, and we beat their ass. Nobody's going to see that in the score because of the score, but understand, and the Raptors know, the real ones know that we beat their ass last night. And when we play them next week, we're going to really beat their ass when they come here to Toronto because we are going to be pissed off about how this went, and we're going to take it out on them. Jamal Murray was great at times. He made shots, but he's not the reason why they won. Nikola Jokic is not the reason why they won, y'all, other than the fact that he is a golden boy and they wanted to give him golden boy treatment at the end of the game. Those guys did not have super solid games. I mean, they ended up with nice stats by the end of the game, but at halftime and for most of the game, they did not play really that well. We contained Jamal to a degree. And Jokic was not a huge factor, like an MVP kind of caliber game for him. So there's so many things we did really successfully and really well, and we can't hang our heads. Like some people have said on Twitter, it's got to be so demoralizing to the team for playing so well, and then have it happen the way it did, and how he stole the game from us right at the end. Scott Foster is so crazy. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And add it to the list of fucked up games from the season. Like I said, we're going to have bullshit like this happen. Let's just get it all in one season. It was just like Tampa season. I said, we're going to have bullshit happen. Let's get it all out of the way for the Tampa season. Hopefully all this is gone for next season. And we don't have any of this bullshit like happening for us. We have good things happening, positive, winning things helping us to get towards the win instead of all this kind of shit. Because we've had so many different horror story games this season, different ways. And then last night, it's not even any of our faults. It's not any of the team's fault. It's not the coach's fault. It's none of the individual players' fault. It's the referee's fault. It's not even that the other team played better than us and that we didn't out compete them. It's the referee's fault. So it's like there's so many close games, so many fucked up finishes to games this season. Just add this one to the collection. Just add this one to the collection of bullshit for this year. Let's see. Sue's saying, well, I already put my complaint email into Adam Silver after that travesty of an ending, but our boys did us proud last night. They played so well. Yes, they did, Sue. In some ways, it's like, listen, I love and respect those guys. They said it over and over again in their interviews after the game. They said, we were on our way. We were about to win. This was a fantastic game. It was so good. And then it was sullied by Scott Foster trying to be the star and making his will on what he wanted for the game to happen. It really is you deciding you want to give the game to the Nuggets when you call a double technical and an ejection on Scottie Barnes. In that split second, Scott Foster, you are deciding I'm giving the win to the Denver Nuggets. And it's you. You decided the game, not the players. Not the players, not in any kind of way. You decided it. And once again, if Scottie said something under his breath that got you so upset about your integrity, bro, your integrity is in shreds and shitty already. It does not take a second-year player, Scottie Barnes, to question your integrity to be a problem. In fact, once again, thou dost protest too much. That maybe, you insinuate guilt by just how hair trigger and how easily you get set off when somebody questions your integrity. Well, maybe that's because, you have an integrity that needs to be in question because you're full of shit and you're cheating. That means, I'm extra sensitive about it. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not cheating. Oh, you get a tech. It's like when you overreact like that, that shows guilt in some ways. Like if you talk to police interrogators or police, when somebody acts like that, when they're accused of something, they're usually guilty. They're usually very, very guilty. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe you're a little thin-skinned. And maybe Scottie knows the noise. Maybe he's checked in with the Raptor Freak or other people around the nation and heard about Scott Foster's reputation. And it could be very well that Scott said something under his breath that he didn't think Scott Foster had the radar, the good hearing to hear. And he may say, cheating ass motherfucker or something like that, or cheating ass or something like that. And boom, that set him off. We've seen the refs like call crazy ass shit when they're insecure about people calling them for cheating. Like somebody said something about gambling earlier this season. I think it was Ja Morant or something. He got a tech. Jason Tatum was sarcastic to the refs a couple weeks ago saying, what a good job. And they gave him a tech. There's some really weird shit going on with the refs. And I really do think it's these old ass ones like Scott Foster and Ed Malloy that need to go and retire. They need to fucking get the fuck out of here because they are part of the power structure. They're made men. They probably, in some ways, Scott Foster is above the NBA, and that they just have to suck his dick. Excuse me. They have to just like go kiss his ass because he has stuff on the league that will bring the whole entire league down. I'm going to start just saying this shit because they would have gotten rid of him a long time ago if they could have. It must be that Scott Foster's got the goods on the league and he could destroy the whole entire league. So they keep him around and keep him happy because they know that. I'm going to just start thinking that that's what it is because there's no other explanation for it at all. Let's see. Monique is saying Scott Foster shouldn't ref our games again. Shaking my, he shouldn't ref anybody's games, Monique. He should not be reffing anybody's games. Like, seriously, this is the worst. Like, this is the most outright ref manipulation, like blatant ref manipulation I've done in all my ref manipulations ever in the last 2 years. That it's like everybody knows that the game was completely decided by him. And it was in such an overt way that we can just see it and understand that, like, the Raptors played a really good game. They deserved to win. They were about to win. And Scott Foster stole it from them. Like, everybody, I don't think any fan in the Raptors nation, the negatives or the positive, would argue with that right now. That we can all be on the same page and say, look, this dude is crooked as fuck. And he just totally stole a win for the Raptors over the top team in the Western Conference that could have been really altering for our season. It could have been doing all kinds of different things for us. Well, it's just that kind of year. Bullshit year is what this year is. Oh my gosh. Sue's saying Scott Foster should be out of the league. He shouldn't ref any more NBA games. That was blatantly bad. Yeah. Yeah. Wayne's here. Good to see Wayne. Lex, firstly, I know and understand it's a damn game. I'm a 62-year-old adult and fan of the Toronto Raptors, but when we get beat ourselves, I accept it. But that's corruption, period. Yeah, that is corruption. It's blatant corruption. You know, I did a piece last year in the summer about Adam Silver, and it was a Share the Love Club. And I was talking glowingly about how Adam Silver really did good leadership during the pandemic times of leading the NBA in an organized, coherent way through the pandemic. That he did a really good job sailing the ship as a captain of the leader of the NBA through a lot of adversity with the pandemic. Well, I'm going to take all that shit back because in some ways, Adam Silver, I'm realizing after this season, you're fucking running this NBA league into the ground. It's between the All-Star game being a piece of shit, or it's the referees being absolutely out of control as some sort of mob, whether it's people like Ja Morant that are horrible, superstars in the future of this league. There's nothing good, a lot of bad things about the NBA, the trends of what we're seeing with the game. You're not making a better product. You're not making a better competitive league in some ways because obviously it's rigged. Obviously, you have golden boys that you treat better. You have the haves and have-nots for teams, and that you do very much cater to the haves and and you hurt the have-nots on a basis when you see fit. And I'm just sick of this shit. I'm exactly with Wayne. It's like, look, we'll admit when we lost the game, and we know that we lost the game because of ourselves. But that is not the case with last night. We did not get a fair shake. And the fact that they were decided by an ejection, a couple of free throws in a very close 1-point game, which it did not deserve that kind of justice at the end of the game, that the two teams needed to play to see which team was actually the better team. And Scott Foster took that away last night. I totally agree. It is corruption. And, listen, we all saw the same thing. And anybody who watched it, even Nuggets fan, you can't be too happy about that game last night. Y'all looked like you were exposed to a degree in some ways. You guys were exposed. And I don't think I could feel very good. You may feel like, oh, yeah, we got this come from behind victory at the end of it. Don't fucking kid yourself. Scott Foster gave you an early Christmas present. Your team did not beat the Raptors last night. You cannot say that. And in some ways, maybe this hit job was set up because we beat them on their home court last year. And they're like, oh, we can't have them beat them on their home court 2 years in a row. It'll look weird or something. Yeah, we're going to fuck y'all up next week when you come to Toronto. I hope so. I hope these guys show some pride and they're like, you know what? We were going to beat your ass and we deserve that win in Denver. We're going to make sure we get that win in Toronto. And I don't really like the trend recently. Like the Raptors are in a tough stretch where they're trying to figure things out and get into playoffs, out of the play-in. And we continue to get these really like senior refs that are doing shady shit, whether it's Tony Brothers, Ed Malloy, Tom Washington. And now it's fucking Scott Foster last night. This is really weird. I think the ref report more than ever is such an important thing to look at and understand when we're going into the games. And that I wish that I could have been wrong about being wary of Scott Foster going in the game. But, well, he exactly showed why I worry about him being involved in a game. Now, I could say the Raptors could safeguard this by making sure they got that double-digit lead late. So there ain't no funny business where the refs can try and railroad us. They have to get those big leads over everybody so that they can absolutely control the ref manipulation at the end and, weather it. As far as like, we had a bigger lead, then a lot of this would be easier. But honestly, I can't critique them that way because they were doing so many good things last night. They played so well. They may have played their best game of the whole entire year last night. And they did not get that well-deserved W because Scott Foster stole it. Isaac Campbell's saying, or Monique's saying the post-game interview said it after the game. Loved how we played. Yeah, Fred, Nick, Scott, all three of them were alluding to the fact that this was a fantastic game. It was a great battle. Two really good teams battling it out, and we were winning. And then the ref decided the game. And they didn't say that outright, but they're saying basically, yeah, it was a really good game until the end, and things went off track, is how they described it without getting in trouble. Oh my gosh. Isaac saying Manipulator by Ty Segall is a pretty good song, but on a related note, fuck that Foster guy. Yeah. Listen, guys, there's a petition online to fire Scott Foster. I want you guys to all go there and sign it. In fact, I'm looking at from last night, I think that they're getting a lot more signatures because of last night. I think they're getting a lot more signatures. So, oh my gosh, I can't believe this crap. This is so messed up and crazy. In some ways, I'm just really upset and I'm like speechless. I'm speechless. In some ways, I'm just really speechless right now because I can't believe how messed up this is. I'm going to go through the comments, and I should do the G League Ignite game also. But I don't know how long I'm gonna be on here because I don't want to sit in this for too long. I want to move on, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. We'll do what we can in this situation. Some people go sign that petition that I'm talking about. Do things like Sue said. She wrote the NBA head office. Let's make some noise, seriously, and let them know that this is not cool and this is not okay. And I'm sure that Phoenix fans and Chris Paul fans know our pain today with what's going on. Fiercey saying, good morning, fam. Also still in disbelief. Frustrating and blatant cheating from the refs, especially Scott Foster. Next games, Raps really have to step it up and separate themselves via scoring. I really hope that in some ways this is an impetus for them to get some gumption and come up against the Clippers on Wednesday with a different kind of, like even more so, just the same kind of energy of kicking ass and playing really well because they're so pissed off about the outcome in the last game. This life isn't fair, obviously. Our record is not indicative of who we are, obviously, because we played a very good team in this league and we matched them and we're actually beating them. So there's all kinds of like if you read between the lines and look at the situation with last night, there's a lot of good positive things because like in some ways we show we can compete with a top NBA team and in some ways really like dominate them, like really have their number. Because we were really kicking their ass for the whole entire game. We had the lead for the most part. And yeah, this is, in some ways I got to look at the light, even though the dark is so paramount and in the forefront and like, it makes you angry because of the injustice. But in some ways, we got to look at the light and the positive around the whole situation last night and say, look, we were heroes. We didn't do anything wrong. We did everything right. We were on our way to having success and getting that really good thing, but we were robbed of it. It makes me think of this story that's coming out of Alabama about this girls basketball team that could not play. They didn't have their own league because they didn't have enough teams. So they let them play with the boys. And well, they kicked all the boys' asses and won the season, like the championship. And at the end of the season, they wouldn't give them the trophies. They just said you can't have them. It's just like so unfair and so messed up. And in some ways, it like really shows like how corrupt sports are in certain ways. And I really do feel like the NBA is corrupt in a really bad way. I think the betting problems are going to be more and more problems as the years go on. In fact, I'm really worried about the NBA and its future, that it may destroy itself just because it's so greedy within with people like Scott Foster. That he may be the person that still brings this league down just because he's so fucking greedy, obviously. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Leslie saying, good morning, everyone. At Sue, maybe we can all of us freaks can send an email to Adam Silver. Scott Foster might win league MVP over Jokic. Shaking my head. Listen, if Jokic wins the MVP, I'm going to be like, he's a fucking fake ass MVP because I know they prop him up. I mean, we saw it last night, how they give him little touch fouls and foul consideration, put him on the line. Like a lot of the free throws that he shot at the end of the game, he didn't deserve those. It's not like he was taking any more contact or doing anything different than anybody else. So why is the golden boy of the league getting to go to the line, like getting handheld to the line by Scott Foster? Yeah, see, that's fucked up. It's totally fucked up. In a messed up game last night with the golden boy treatment of Jokic and then the golden boy treatment of the Western Conference leading Denver Nuggets overall. Really, really crazy. Monique is saying, love how Scottie Barnes went on Twitter right away. Yeah, Scottie's making it known how he feels about it. He went on there. He said that he's in disbelief. And I get it. Like I could go through Twitter right now and there's so many interesting things on here. Jordan Bolton saying no Gary in crunch time. Yep, you wanted to lose. That's bullshit. Jordan, fuck you for saying some shit like that. We're managing Gary well, and he did get in at the end of the game. But just because we didn't play him, ref hit job. That's what happened, bro. Come on, man. Let's see. I'm just gonna keep scrolling through here a little bit. Okay, listen. Brian Windhorst is tweeting this too. The Nuggets dominated clutch time last night in another win. That's bullshit, Brian Windhorst. They did not dominate clutch time. Scott Foster dominated clutch time. Let me see if anybody's in the comments saying that to him. First comment. I thought it was Scott Foster who dominated crunch time last night. Yeah. Did you even watch the game? The refs were wearing Nuggets jerseys. Scott Foster equals Tim Donaghy, 2023. Watch the game, Brian. Scott Foster, who dominated. Seems like Scott Foster dominated clutch time. Disappearing in the playoffs. You spelled Scott Foster wrong. Yeah, see? Terrible takes. Listen to this. Terrible take. Even Nuggets fans were talking about the non-calls becoming calls. 6 points of free throws while not attempting a shot. Scottie Barnes ejected and the other refs just looking in disbelief. Both teams played well. Raps deserved that win, though. Yeah. Then this guy's saying that's so ball. The refs decided that game. Stop playing propaganda for the NBA. Like in some ways, Brian Windhorst is trying to gloss it over with the propaganda, what he's trying to say, and make it like ensconced. So like this is how it happened. I'm painting the picture that the Nuggets were this great clutch team last night that won the game last night. That's bullshit, Brian Windhorst. That is total bullshit. Wayne's saying beautiful game, indeed. Holy crap. All right. I see a lot of you guys came in here. I'll make sure you guys all are heard because I know everybody's pretty upset. Wow. All right. Good. Good to see this stuff. I'm going to start really getting on y'all's comments. And like I said, I may not be here for too long after. But beautiful game ruined by the NBA agenda. Love Jack Armstrong, but he needs to shut up. We don't respect crooks regardless of their power. I would verbally abuse that crook and pay the fine. Yeah. Listen, I understand the criticism of Scott. And this may be the thinking of Scott Foster, but the criticism of Scottie Wayne Barnes, for him to not keep his mouth shut, I don't think he did anything extra that he wouldn't do normally. And he may have said things that he would probably hadn't gotten in trouble for. It's just that Scott Foster's ultra sensitive. And in some ways, listen, Scott Foster's been in this league for so long. You don't think he knows exactly what he's doing? This is a move. It's just like a move on the court with a basketball dribble. A move by him on the court. It's like, all right, I'm going to do a quick ejection, a quick tech ejection for something really small that I'm just going to unravel and say, well, he said something, and nobody's going to question me on it because they don't know exactly what he said. And Scottie knows what he said, but he's like, and that's the whole thing is that, like, sure, it could be a learning experience for a young player not to sass the ref at the end of the game. And I'm sure Scottie did learn some lessons from what happened last night. But in some ways, Jack, you're full of shit to call him out and say you can't do this kind of stuff because, listen, it's the kind of thing where Scott Foster could have taken the smallest little thing and exploded into that double tech ejection at any given time. Now, does any single person, Jack Armstrong, any fan, anybody, even a Nuggets fan, think that what Scottie did warranted to get ejected and have 2 technicals shot because of what he said? No. That was all within the call by design. That Scott Foster's done this before, y'all. He has called this crazy ass "I'm throwing you out" all of a sudden kind of technical ejection, and it's very like an impactful move. It's very much like a finishing move. He used his finishing move on Scott, and Scott gave him just a little kernel. It was like just oh, you know what? It's like he heard him. He said, "Oh, you know what? That's just enough for me to make an over exaggerated, overcompensating call and throw the young man out." And Jack can say as an old coach, he's like, "Oh, young guys need to learn they can't sass the refs and just be quiet at the end of the game." And sure, maybe there's a little bit of learning moment between Scottie and Jakob in that moment afterwards, where Scottie came over to Jakob and he said, "What's going on?" And like he's like, "You're getting ejected," and he's like, "What?" Is it like he didn't understand it because it didn't make any fucking sense? It's like, look, Draymond Green can talk out of his ass for a whole 48 minutes of the game. They'll give him one tech earlier, but they don't dare give him the second tech and throw him out. Same thing with LeBron. Do you know how they tiptoe around LeBron with like not giving him technicals or anything because they don't want him to leave the game? So this is such unfair treatment that there's some guys who can get away with murder on the court, and Scott murmurs something under his breath to himself. And he doesn't even get a warning tech. He gets double teched and ejected in that moment. Yeah, that's a Scott Foster finishing move. That is a move that he has used in the past. That is a move that he will pull out of his trick, out of his bag. And nobody questions him. Do you question his authority? Like this fucking Cartman bullshit? You'll question my authority? Fuck you, Scott Foster. Oh my gosh. Crazy. Crazy. Nako's saying for 16 assist game from Fred, it didn't look all that flashy. Still, Fred, Pascal, and Scottie were our best players. If I were a Nuggets fan, best players were Foster, Jokic, and Murray. Nuggets played well. Yeah, of course, put Foster on that side for sure. Gerald, pretty funny. Yeah, okay, you can like Pascal and Scottie and Fred. I was annoyed with Pascal once again not showing up clutch right at the end to really take it home for us. Sure, those couple of open shots that he missed at the end of the game pissed me off because he needs to show he's clutch and he makes baskets at the end of the game. He shouldn't be taking them if he consistently doesn't make them. And in some ways, he could have sealed the game without having the Scott Foster sideshow by just making a few of those shots in the last 5 minutes, which really kind of bugged me. But once again, I'm not going to blame Pascal. It's just, dude, seriously, you can see where you could really help us if you could be more clutch. Callie's saying they played so hard, heartbreaking loss. Turnovers and refs beat us. So pissed. Emailing Adam Silver. What the fuck was that? Yeah, everybody, let's make some noise. Listen, I criticized the NBA that summer for being rigged and unfair. And well, look, the Raptors won the championship later that year. So, maybe we make enough noise. Maybe that's what they do. They put out the crying whiny babies of whoever's upset with the NBA and calling out that they're crooked. And they give them some favor to shut them up, to pacify them. So maybe we make enough noise. Maybe we'll get some good luck. Like Dan Gilbert got a bunch of first number 1 picks for the Cavs after LeBron's decision. That seems like the way the NBA does things. Is like you get upset about injustices done to you by the league and the refs, You make enough noise, maybe they'll rig things to help you, just to kind of try and counterbalance, to overcompensate, showing that they are fair. So let's make a bunch of noise and see if our fortunes change, because the league is really trying hard to look like they're fair. So they're, oh, the Raptor fans are seeing how we're not fair and we're corrupt. So maybe we need to overcompensate and really make them happy by letting them win and giving them a lot of favor. I'm all for that. If that's how you want to fucking do, even though this league is fucked because it's criminal and corrupt, yeah, we could get that effect, that we get a little bit propped up because we're making a lot of noise. We're the whiny baby that wants the breast. And you need to go ahead and take care of us next, Adam Silver, or we're going to just whine and cry and go all over the place and put it all over the place and sully the integrity and the reputation of your officials and your league. Yeah, maybe that's how we should go about our strategy in some ways. Yeah, Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. I have no words. NBA should be embarrassed to the core. Shaking my head. Yeah. Troy Henry, I'm fuming from last night until now. How the hell these officials want respect from players but expect not to give it back? Shaking my head. Betting just messed up the NBA, because I know that's what is going on. Betting always had been messing up the NBA. It's legal and it's now more mainstream, and maybe there's more chances for it to fuck up this league because more people are involved in it and they're more interested in it. So there may be more people trying to exert pressure in certain weird mafioso ways. Betting was always a problem, obviously, with Donaghy, and it's still been a problem since, because Scott Foster's ass is still around the league. But like I said, I think he's a made guy. He'll bring the whole ship down if they come after him. That's got to be what it is. That if they come after Foster, he basically will turn around and say, "Yeah, you guys came after me. Well, I'm taking y'all with me." That kind of shit, because he may have a whole bunch of evidence, and that would ruin the entire league. So it's a very big money maker, and he could have them in that kind of position. Seriously, I'm gonna start putting that narrative out there, that they want to fire him, but they can't, because he's strong arming them. He's blackmailing them. He's making them continue to keep him employed because he's a dirty ref and everybody knows it. But the NBA can't do shit, because if he comes out and tells everybody what he knows, the league is over. So I really think that that's the situation that's going on. It's just what it reads to me as far as the perception of things. It's so obvious he's crooked as fuck. Like, look at what happened last night. That's so crooked. That is so crooked. You wanted the Denver Nuggets to win at the end of the game, obviously, Scott Foster. Well, you made it happen, and it wasn't the players that decided it. Let's see. Tom Duke saying, same here, Callie. Good morning. Iguodala even commented saying the move was very American, yelling "get out" to Scottie and pointing his finger. What? I don't even understand that, Tom, exactly what you're saying. What did Iguodala say? Uh, even commented saying the move was very American. What do you mean very American? You mean him throwing him out, or Scottie? Who's being American? I don't understand. Let's see. Okay, so you're saying Scott Foster was being American? That's dumb. I don't even know what that has to do with being American or not. That just has to do with being a crooked ref. Hughes saying Scott Foster's first referee to drop a triple-double in an NBA game. Disgusting officiating in that last minute. All bad calls were by him. Yeah, Robert Hussey, you look at the look on his face right when that all is happening. He is in disbelief. In some ways, that is him. That is giving away that he's going outside the official's playbook. When the other officials are like, this is totally out of the blue. And like, look, I heard what he said too, but I did not react the same way that you did. If he said something about cheating ass or something like that, and Scott Foster was sensitive to it, well, we know that he's a cheating ass then. It's kind of like, you overreact. It betrays your emotions and your guilt when you do that. It's crazy. Isaac saying, threaten to cancel your league pass or not renew. I don't know. Like I thought about boycotting the NBA, but you know what my decision was? And this is what it is. And maybe y'all will want to do this. And this is kind of how I've been this whole time. And I haven't really told you guys. I'm not a fan of the NBA. I hate the NBA. I think the NBA is corrupt and it's cheating and it's fucked up. And I've thought this for a few years now. But that still doesn't keep me from loving the Raptors. I'm a huge Raptors fan, even though I am not a fan of the organization the Raptors play in. So I always delineate that. I say I'm a Toronto Raptors fan, but I'm not a fan of the NBA, a corrupt sports organization. And I root for my team, even though it is at a detriment and it is probably in a league that's cheating, even though. And that is something y'all could say. Much like I talked about how there's team fans and player fans. Well, I'm not a league fan. I hate the fucking NBA. I think it's corrupt and I think they cheat. But within that space, I still find the place to love my team and follow the Raptors. And that's part of the reason why I don't watch any other NBA games, is because I hate the league overall. I just love the Raptors so much, but I hate the league for being corrupt. So maybe some of y'all want to be a fan like I have been for a couple of years now, whereas I don't consider myself a fan of the NBA. I consider myself a fan of the Toronto Raptors, and they play in the NBA despite that. And that is just how I look at it. Because I know that there, like Wayne has said, there's corruption. And to reconcile that with me, I said, well, I don't like that. But you know what? In some ways, that still makes us the ultimate underdog. And in some places, like, well, why even root? Because there is a chance. Like Seymour Pape says, you're saying that there's a chance. Well, there is. Masai Ujiri is a big reason why. He's on our team and he helps us get to more championships. So that's why it's going to be all the more sweeter when we win again and beating all the odds in the corrupt league. So if you want to look at it the way I look at it, then you can continue to be a fan of the Raptors and still support them and watch them and stuff like that. But in a lot of ways, I do not support the NBA. And League Pass, sure, cancel it and watch streams. Don't fucking give them your money. Seriously, if you don't want to, don't do it. Don't do it. Watch the games however you want. I don't give a shit. Evelyn's saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. I agree 100% to you all. Let's do something about this. Let Adam Silver hear us, por favor. Let's go, Raps. We the North. All right, Evelyn, I love it. Yeah, let's get activated. Let's be activists. Let's come in and let's make some noise. Let's let them know that this is very egregious and messed up. In fact, last night's game, maybe have a documentary made about it someday. Seriously, everything that happened in those last 3 minutes of the game last night needs to be documented and talked about, and exactly how it went down and the way it did and how it totally determined the outcome. And that the players that wear the jerseys that are supposed to be playing the game, not the Zebras, were supposed to determine the game, not Scott Foster. Smooth Brown Man saying, disgusting refs. Unreal. It's unreal how bad it was. I mean, we saw such an amazing game. We were playing so well. We deserved to win, and we were robbed at the very end of the game. Hughes saying Raptors played solid against the best team in the league. We were beating them in front of their own fans, and the league didn't like that. Well, that's part of the reason why they have those guys come to the games, to safeguard this kind of shit. Like if we had gotten a really good effort in Cleveland a couple weeks ago and we were beating Cleveland's ass on that Sunday night, Ed Malloy would have done a hit job on us in that game. That's why I look at who's assigned for the games so closely, because I know the specific hit job artists that are in this league. And when I see them at the games, I have to be worried that they're going to try and force the Raptors to lose against top NBA teams because they don't want them to beat them. And I will tell you this, we did not play well against the Cavs on that Sunday, and we did lose to them. But if we had played really well against the Cavs on that Sunday and we were looking at sweeping the Cleveland team for the whole season, I think Ed Malloy would have stepped up and done some fucked up shit just like Scott Foster did last night. There very much was a chance because he's done it to us already this season in a Boston game. This isn't the first game that we've been railroaded to a loss by refs' calls late in the game. Ed Malloy did this to us in a Boston game earlier this season already. So it is really fishy and it's messed up. Nako's saying refs shouldn't be allowed to get so emotional. I know. I don't understand. Listen, in some ways, yeah, you should be very even-keeled. You should be very tough. You should be very hardened. I don't know. And the older ones are the worst. They're the biggest crybabies and prima donnas. I find that the young refs are more easygoing and they're able to work with people and they're more personable and they seem to do a better job of reffing the game. I'm telling you, this old generation that's still lingering from the 2000s needs to fucking go. They need to have more turnover. That some of these older refs got to go. I'll say Scott Foster for sure. Absolutely, he's a good start, but there's probably a few other ones that are, above 25 years in the league that need to fucking retire and get out of there. I mean, honestly, Adam Silver, As long as you have Scott Foster around this league, everybody's going to question the integrity of this league. There's no getting around the Whistleblower podcast and his linkages to Tim Donaghy. He will always taint the integrity of your officials. And until you fire him or make him retire, you're always going to have this problem. The day until then, everybody's going to think that this league is corrupt and that you cheat when Scott Foster is still employed by you. And for this long, this is like 15 years since the whole betting scandal, and he's still around and still doing this shit. He does this shit regularly still. It's so amazing and crazy. Oh my gosh. All right, Greg's here. Gubstown Clink saying, just checking in from Kitchen. Tragic ending and a big performance. Ultimately positive to see that kind of 48-minute effort from the guys. Cheers, Lex, watching and with ovens rocking today. All right, Greg, cook up the good stuff. And hopefully the Raptors will continue to play at a very high level and cook up more good stuff in Los Angeles for the rest of the week. These games are going to be tough, but we should have some gumption to prove that we did belong and what we were doing was not an aberration, that we're going to continue to play this way. That's the thing we can control. We can't control Scott Foster ref hit job, but we can control how we play and with the effort and continue to try and just be stubborn and play that way to get to wins. And at some point, they're not going to be able to stop us every single time without looking really, really bad with cheating. That's why we have to be so much better. And that's why, listen, when you assess whether the Raptors are good or not, you can't look at this season and most of what's happened this year. You look at what happened last night and see the potential of the heights that they can get to is how good they are, how good they can be. And hopefully they can consistently stay at this level for the rest of the year. And we'll just win a whole bunch of games anyway, just defiantly against the bullshit of this league. Hugh saying, Scottie supposedly said they're cheating. It speaks volumes if Scott Foster had such an emotional reaction to a statement that wasn't even directly stated to him. Ridiculous. Yeah. And he didn't even say it that loud. He was talking to himself. He murmured. I mean, Scott learned a tough lesson. You can't say that, obviously. They're so sensitive. He's so sensitive because he is, obviously. That motherfucker is cheating, and that is why he was so hair trigger on that statement. Mike saying, salute Real Ones, Project Truth always. Solid defense. Offense was looking better. Fourth, mistakes piled up. Definitely good tape to look at. We were holding our own for a lot of the game. Good thing so. Mike, don't describe the game like that. Seriously. We held our own. We were going to win that game. Scott Foster stole that game from us. Don't even poo-poo that we had problems and we fell apart. We were on track to win that game. We were in the rhythm of the flow at the end of the game of managing that we were up and that we were going to hold it and we were going to win it. And Scott Foster got desperate right at the end and made some crazy-ass calls to railroad us to a loss. We were on our way. We had it. We had it in so many different ways. They had to start piling on weird calls. The calls were very biased at the end of the game. Did you see that, Mike? That one in the court, they did not call any contact on Pascal and Scottie and different shit. But meanwhile, every touch foul, they're going to the line. The Nuggets shot so many free throws at the end of the game. It's not like the Nuggets won the game on baskets. They won the game shooting free throws by getting handed free throws by the refs. We didn't see a big Jamal Murray 3 to win this game. We didn't see fucking Jokic shoot a little shot. They were at the free throw line when they made their last points. And that directly says the referees decided the game. They gave them the chance to go to the line every single time. And they didn't give us any chances ourselves. So you start to wonder why in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, the Raptors were outscored 13-2 because the refs were completely controlling the game at that point and who would get points because everything was going through the free throw line at that point. That's why Siakam had to make those open shots because they can't fucking cheat around that shit. You have to make those shots. And, I'm not going to blame Siakam, but that could have really helped avoid the ref hit job in some ways if we had a little bit more of a cushion. I need those guys hit those important shots at the end. It really helped. Let's see. Tristan saying, laugh out loud. Where'd my message go? Anyway, I was saying Scott Foster's #1 trending in Twitter in Canada. Yeah. Put him on blast. I don't know where these messages go. Sometimes they're here and they disappear. I don't know what YouTube's doing. Trevor's saying, man, I'm so mad to see those refs stole the game from us in front of our own eyes. That was bullshit. we were beating them so bad the refs had to steal the game. They really did, Trevor. There's nothing exaggerated in what you're saying. Leslie's saying we played great last night. I think Scott Foster had bets on the game. He didn't think that the Raptors were going to win. Scott panicked and had to rein it in. Yeah. Okay. And Tom's got the link to the petition in the chat. So if you guys want to sign this petition about Scott Foster, go in there and do it. Kareem saying, on a lighter note, I had a McDonald's coffee for the first time in 3 years. It was great and only $1. All my comments will have a McDonald's reference today. Okay, Kareem. All right, sure. As long as you do a McFlurry, Siakam McFlurry ad in there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. I think Leslie's exactly right. I think Scott Foster panicked, and that's why he had to make that really emotional outburst kind of thing with Scottie, because it was not clear. And like, it was such a weird, fucked up play. And honestly, Scottie's a good scapegoat because we've seen him talk to the refs a lot in the first 2 years of his career. He's very engaged with them. And, it's easy for Scott Foster to build some stories like, well, the whole game, he'd been jawing at us the whole game. And I was just sick of it. Right at the very end, I had to call him for a double tech and eject him. I was just sick of, I don't know. But Scott, in some ways, you jawing at the refs all the time is in some ways allowed for this to happen in some ways, because you're getting a reputation for that. And in some ways, it's really good that you do jaw at them. And it's important, because you don't want to just be kind of like rolling over and taking what they give you. But it really is a balance. You got to be on it like a surfboard. You got to have it the right way with the balance, or you'll fall off. And you really got to look to your vets to give you more guidance on how much the line is and where you can walk it with the refs. The people like Fred and Gary and Pascal and OG, they know Jakob. And you got to talk to them about like this and this, and maybe they can help you with seeing this. Not that I think you did anything wrong. I really don't think you did, but just for the future and more, it is important for you to learn how to relate and deal with the refs in a healthy, good way that helps for the win. And what happened was, listen, I don't even think Scottie did anything wrong. And obviously he wouldn't want them to get easy technical free throws to really increase the lead and make it a double possession lead. That was really the biggest problem with it was, he does that. He gives them 2 free throws, and now all of a sudden it's a 2 possession game when it was really only supposed to be a 1 possession game, because they were only supposed to get two free throws and not 4. So yeah, it is really screwed up and messed up, and it really is Scott Foster strong arming the Nuggets to the win. Wayne's saying Fred had to admit he intends to keep his money, so he's not commenting. That's the league silencing stakeholders by fines, which allows corruption to fester. Yeah, it's a fascist organization. The NBA is fascist. If people don't understand what fascism is, it's the ability to not have the ability to speak out or say things because the organization denounces you or silences you or punishes you. And in some ways, the way that organized sports like the NFL and the NBA are set up is very fascist, whether it's with the fines, whether it's whatever they do I've always said this, it's fascist. And if you question it, it's like, you're questioning the system. Well, they come down on you and try and squash you like a bug. So yeah, the NBA has always been fascist. Let's not get it wrong. I've been aware of this, and I'll call it out when they're being fascist. And in some ways, this is very much a part of it. Fascism can very much feed corruption. And yeah. And there's all kinds of money involved in this. So it is criminal. It's very criminal. In some ways, it's like they would investigate pro sports for all kinds of shit if they weren't such cash cows and economic drivers for cities and the U.S. and different places. They would totally come after play. Like if they were really had integrity about sussing out criminality, they would go and look at these leagues a little bit better. NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA, they all have a certain degree of it to a degree. In some ways, I feel like the NBA is the dirtiest just because I pay the most attention to it. And it's so egregiously dirty. We can see it at this point. But don't get it twisted. We know MLB is very dirty. We also know that the NFL can be very dirty in certain ways with preference and certain stuff. And they're very fascist with their fines. And then, the NHL, I don't know enough about the NHL, but it has its own problems. And some of it may not be totally with corruption, maybe with other things like racism. But let's see. All right. Seymour saying, thank you, Scott Foster. You just proved my point that the NBA is fixed. Yeah, Seymour's been saying this for the last 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But now he really does sound like it rings true for sure. MSJ saying, nice hat, by the way, Lex. And wow, Foster was in the loop on that crooked ref. Makes a lot of sense. And I really do think the betting lines control some percentage of all games, but very decent Raps effort. That's why we got to be that much better. We really, really do. Yeah, there's a lot of information about Scott Foster and his connection to Tim Donaghy. I'll just read what I posted in the Facebook chat yesterday. And that is not my own words, guys. It's just so you know. All right. This is from an article that's saying the Western Conference games, Finals Game 7 was one of the most blatantly one-sided officiated games in the recent history of the NBA. Scott Foster, who has been known to have connections to Tim Donaghy, a disgraced NBA referee who was banned for fixing games, was refereeing the game. Donaghy claims that other referees were fixing games just like he was, but it was brushed off as him being upset about losing his career. However, many people now have reason to believe that Scott Foster is one of those refs that Tim Donaghy warned the NBA about. The records show Donaghy placed 134 phone calls to referee Scott Foster, more than 126 calls made to Donaghy, made to his bookies between October 2006 and April 2007, the period during which he has confessed to either betting on games or passing on game information to gamblers. The majority of the phone calls lasted no more than 2 minutes and occurred prior to and after games Donaghy officiated and on which he admits wagering. So they have all this information that on these games when Donaghy was gambling, he was talking to Scott Foster before the game and after. These conversations were always under 2 minutes. And I'm very sure that they were just very much like, yeah, I did it, this and this and whatever. You know, there was a lot of this going on during this period of time. He is very much implicated. But the NBA, why did they not go ahead and get rid of him too? Well, it's probably because Scott Foster, like I said, has something on them. So let's see. Um, okay, so listen to this. With the exception of 150 calls Donaghy placed to Thomas Martino, to whom he said he provided picks to win games and who was the middleman between the disgraced ref and the bookie named Batista, the ex-ref phoned no one more than he called Foster. During this period, the most calls Donaghy made to any other ref were 13. So he only called like one other ref 13 times, but he called Scott Foster like 150 times. With sports betting becoming legal nationwide, more people than ever will be relying on NBA referees to make the correct calls, and billions of dollars will be riding on the integrity of the NBA. Scott Foster does not have a place in this modern professional sports world. Bam. Bam. Because he does not have integrity. We know he doesn't. We really do know that. Let's see. Shere Khan saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. Last night I said I was so frustrated that I turned off the TV. I never do that as I'm getting older and understand just a game. But damn, I was like, Lex, make it make sense. NBA media is crap. I can't disagree with this, Shere Khan. And in fact, if this turns people off from the product, well, they're getting exactly what they deserve. Listen, if some of y'all decide you don't want to continue on this journey of following the Raptors and being involved and rooting for the NBA, I completely understand. And I would be like, listen, that's not a horrible decision in some ways. If you can do that and you can separate yourself from this in some ways, you know, I would. But I can't at this point. It's just a certain part of my DNA in some ways. And in some ways, I'm just stubborn. And I want to see us overcome it like ultimate underdogs against all the odds and still win more championships, even though I know it's so unfair and rigged. It's crazy. Hugh saying, I was listening to the Nuggets broadcast, and even they said after the challenges, someone up there is favoring the Nuggets. The game was going good, and it became blatant. Yeah, listen, seriously, Nuggets fans, like I said, you feel proud of how you won the game against the Raptors last night? I don't think you do. I don't think you do. And I think that it's a hollow victory for y'all. I think y'all understand we got your number and we're going to fuck you up. And we could really play you very well and kick your ass. You know, I don't believe in the Nuggets as far as like in the postseason. I still don't think they're going to go far. I don't think they're the right kind of team for the playoffs. So Seymour saying we all got robbed. If I ever see Foster, I'm probably going to end up in jail. Respectful. G saying F Scott Foster. We'll bail you out, Seymour. Tom Duke's got the money. Seymour saying, hey, somebody's got to do it. Something about this damn. I'm pissed. Yeah. Yeah. 5 turnovers is uncharacteristic from Fred. Yeah. He, but they were within that whole thing, the scheme of things. But really, we were so effective. Like, look, all right, let me do the team stats. I shouldn't totally chuck everything that I normally do in reaction streams just because of the controversy last night. We shot 50%. In fact, we shot exactly the same as them, 43 of 86. Both teams shot exactly right down the line. Free three-pointers, they beat us by 3 with 13. We only had 10. The free throws, they beat us there also, 19 to 17. So the free throws, getting 3 more attempts at the free throw line and making 2 more free throws hurt. And then the fact that out of their 43 field goals made, 3 of theirs got extra points because they were 3 more threes than us. That's the difference right there. But really, the difference is made by Scott Foster. He cultivates that. He's the gardener that makes that happen. It's not made by the Nuggets themselves. That in some ways you could say like 6 of their free throws should be taken away because of like how they were hand holding them at the end of the game. The rebounds exactly even, 41 to 41. Offensive rebounds 11 to 12. Assists 29 to 30. Everything is so even down the line. 15 turnovers to 14 turnovers. Points in the paint 48 to 52. They did beat us in the points in the paint. But everything's so even, yet we really were winning the whole game and controlling the game for the most part, keeping them below us, and they couldn't even come overtake us without the help of Scott Foster. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Let's see. Nako. Okay, hang on. All right, let me make sure I read this. Tristan saying people on YouTube who bet on the Nuggets said we got screwed. Another Nuggets fan on Twitter said they can't even celebrate the win. Anyway, we know what we're capable of. Let's continue to play like it. Well, listen, Nuggets fan, be glad. Your record is really good this year, and you guys are having a dream season in some ways. The announcers on your broadcast were like in cloud 9 about how fun the season is for you guys and winning so much and being the top dog in the Western Conference. Well, there's your gift from Scott Foster in the NBA. You get it. Go ahead and make your record look really good, even more so. And meanwhile, the Raptors are robbed of the chance to get to 500. They're trying, scratching and clawing, and they've had such a hard season that it's just, you see how privilege and not having privilege hurts people in this world. And the Nuggets fans don't feel good about that win last night because they know that they didn't earn it. They really didn't earn it. And I'm glad you told me about this, Tristan, for sure. Nako saying Jakob was better than Pascal last night. He might just be our 3rd or 4th and most important player. Yes, of course. I really do think he's already our 3rd most important player. In some ways, he really is. Now, I don't talk about Jakob being better than Pascal. Talk about Jakob being better than Jokic. How about that, Nako? Let's talk about that. Let's look at the stat comparison between Jakob Poeltl and Nikola Jokic. Nikola was 5 of 8 from the field. Poeltl was 9 of 13. Advantage Poeltl. Nikola did make a 3, and Poeltl did not. So we'll give 1 point to Jokic for the 3-pointer that he made. 6 for 6 at the line for Jokic. And then, of course, Poeltl missed both his free throws late, and they were clutch ones that were important. But like I said, don't believe that he's completely a good free throw shooter yet. He may have been on a good streak recently, but he's still not the best. So 2 points for Jokic, 1 for Poeltl. The rebounds, Jokic got 3 offensive. So did Jakob. Jokic got 13 rebounds to 9 for Poeltl. So we give another point to Jokic. So that's 3-1 for Jokic. Let's see, assists 9 for Jokic. So he beat Poeltl there too. Poeltl had 4. And then you got steals. Poeltl got a steal, so he wins that one. So it's 4-2 for Jokic. 1 and 1 block. Okay, that about evens out. 2 turnovers for Poeltl, 4 for Jokic. So there's another point for Jakob. It's 4-3 for Jokic. Plus minus, Jokic wins 5, and then Poeltl wins the other one. So listen, they're very even. And that's the MVP of the last 2 years. And the one that they're talking about should be the MVP this year again. And he's averaging a triple double. Jakob was very even match with him, and they played very even between the two of them. So I feel really good about the effort that Jakob put in there, and he looked like an equal to the MVP of the league. So that's really good. G saying Foster ruined a beautiful game. He wanted to be the only Scott on the court. Yeah, I think that's what somebody said last night. It might have been you, G, that I saw in the comments that I wanted to read this morning. Yeah, it was a beautiful game. It was an enjoyable game. It was very well done. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't like any of these Eastern Conference games we've had recently that were really ugly. No, it was a very good, solid, well played game by both teams, and very fun to watch until the very end and the bullshit. Very much. Sue saying yes at Leslie. Definitely write him and complain. Callie saying, I think the coach's challenge should be reviewed by impartial refs, maybe virtually. Still too much room for subjectivity. Yeah. Yeah. And they did matter at the end. Like they were the beginning of the ref hit job. When I saw that they were really wrong to, we were unsuccessful. But then when they challenged, they were successful. And it was ambiguous. Like, honestly, when they got tied up on that screen, Jokic was holding Scottie, and it was a foul on Jokic. But they looked at it from Scottie being the one holding Jokic. So in some ways, it is totally subjective, Callie. It's as far as like, all right, what is it? Does it come down to respect? That's a 2-year player and a player for the Raptors, and his name's Scottie Barnes, and that's the 2-time MVP from the last 2 seasons. Is that what you're basing the call on, Scott Foster? Is like seniority or like golden boy status in the league? Because honestly, that challenge call could have gone either way. And in some ways, it looked more like Scottie was being held back by Jokic than Jokic was holding, that Scottie was holding Jokic back. In fact, one of the things you could argue is we were in possession of the ball. And in some ways, it doesn't matter if Jokic is tied up as much because he's on defense. It matters more when you hold up an offensive player who's trying to work around the screen. So there's a lot of flaws in the logic of why they sussed out that challenge with Jokic and Scottie on the screen. The logic isn't totally right. And I think you're right, Callie. They got Kane Fitzgerald and the replay center and Secaucus. Those motherfuckers should be deciding all the challenge calls, and they shouldn't have the refs on site be looking at it. In fact, they could expedite it. The refs don't even have to go over there and look at it on camera. They can just stand there. Maybe they can go and talk to the coaches and players and kind of do like relations instead of wasting time on the prompter looking at it with the headphones. Then just wait for Secaucus to send the message of what they decide on the challenge. That sounds like a very, very good idea. And I think people would enjoy the integrity of that more because obviously some of these refs are making things personal. And Scott Foster may be the most personal ref in the league, obviously with his vendetta with Chris Paul. He's very making things personal. So how can we expect NBA officials to rule on the court in an unbiased way when they're taking things personal or they're becoming like emotional themselves in the decision? So maybe Callie's suggestion is very good that you have the parties away from the game that are in the control room decide these kind of decisions. Plus, it may make the game go faster, Adam Silver, because you're wasting time with these guys standing on the side of the court for 5 minutes. Let those guys in Secaucus stay on top of it. And it's like, oh, we got to do this real quick. And they can look at it, boom, 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 and message them, tell them what the decision is. And then they can tell us. It's not up to you, Scott Foster. Once the coach's challenge is put in, it's up to Secaucus. Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's right. Sue's in agreement too. MSJ saying, fuck Scott Foster. Stole it. Fuck him. But yes, Yak is just the key to moving ahead here. And I think he will resign. Going to be a reload summer, but this team has a good future as the 6-9 fades. Who knows? We got so much good coming up. We just got to keep building and staying strong and playing hard and staying together and just keep looking for the good stuff. It's starting to come, and that's really what's scaring some of the people. I think that's why they've been giving us the more senior refs, is they know the Raptors are surging back up, and they don't really want us to come up. I think the NBA is really happy with us being at the bottom of the Atlantic Division. Like, they are so jolly about the other 4 Atlantic Division teams being in contention. The Nets are falling out of it, but they are so happy about the Knicks. And obviously, the Celtics being one of the top teams for the whole season is very happy, and the Sixers being a top team also. So us being at the bottom of the Atlantic Division, they like the way that looks. They don't like us being up higher or even leading the Atlantic Division. So yeah, they like this, and they may want to keep us down. And that may be part of the reason why we're getting senior refs recently in games where we're actually figuring shit out and starting to win again. And they want to make sure we don't. And I'm really, really serious when I say this Denver game last night and the Cleveland game with Ed Malloy on that Sunday recently were both games that they were scheduling for us to lose no matter what. And that those 2 refs being there were very much the safeguard to make sure that it happened that way. And that Scott Foster, because the Raptors weren't going by the script, had to very much, like in a very egregiously overt way, control the game right at the end of the game to make sure Denver won. If that had happened, a similar thing had happened in Cleveland where we played our asses off and kicked Donovan's ass and all the rest of the Cavs on that Sunday, the last game we played against the Cavs, Ed Malloy would have done the same damn thing that Scott Foster did last night. If that game had been close in Cleveland, he would have railroaded us to a loss then, but it wasn't even close, so he didn't have to. He's there as insurance just to make sure things don't go right the way the NBA narrative wants it to be. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. It is so crazy. G saying Raps were ahead for 44 minutes and made 6 calls against the Raps in 90 seconds. Yeah. Hit job. G. Sue saying even online last night, Nugget fans were even saying we got railroaded. Yeah, well, they know. They want them to win fairly. Honestly, that's a good team. They can win fairly. They don't need the refs' help. In some ways, the Nuggets deserved to lose last night just to have that feeling of gumption, to have more like wanting to be better the next game. It was a wake-up call, but they were lucky. They got by the skin of their teeth, but they don't feel good about how they won last night. They really, really don't. I know they don't feel good about it, but that's a crazy thing. In some ways, they rob the fans of the other team by not allowing them to have a game win in the right way. That they can't feel good about this just as much we're pissed off about what happened last night. If they're real fans of the game and the integrity of the game, they saw how bad it was, and they probably feel dirty about it. They probably feel like, you know what, I'm not proud of this. And in some ways, the NBA's fucked up that they allow this kind of thing to happen. And this is the team that benefited from it. Their fans are probably feeling like that, a little icky after last night. G saying also there is a rule to avoid the hack-a-shack so that you can't foul players on purpose away from the ball. I believe they did this to Jakob, and that should have been a tech on Denver. Listen, they were looking the other way, obviously, on the 2 ends of the court. One end, they were not calling any whistles, and the other end, they were calling everything. There's tons of that. That's why I always say, and I've been saying this for 10 years, the Raptors have to have a big lead in the last part of the game, or the referees will try and manipulate the game in little ways to get the other team a chance to overcome and beat us at the end. This is just the whole package of how good the Raptors have to be. We have to be so much better than everybody else that we have to be able to have a double-digit lead at the end of the game, or they will screw us over. They will figure out a way to do it. Let's see. Logical saying Fred had 3 turnovers in the fourth, missed a dribble, his fault completely. The drive into the middle of the paint and 4 guys collapsed and fouled the ball out, and the turnover in the way in the very last minute with OG. Good defense. Okay. All right, Mike. Good run over. G saying Nuggets fans have been respectful about this and even said they wanted to win fairly. Yeah. I have no problem with the Nuggets or the Nuggets fans. And I really feel like we did get robbed of a good competitive game to see who could win that game. And I know they wanted to win the right way. And in some ways, this isn't the right way. I really hope this is the catalyst to really fuck Scott Foster's career up and get him out of here. That this is enough. But you know what? I have no faith in that, because he could do this kind of shit in the middle of the finals and he would still be untouchable. They wouldn't come after him. He could do it in the most important game of the whole entire season and decide it himself, and he would still survive it. That's what makes me think that this guy has the goods on the league as a whole, and that if he gets sent, he's going to take the whole league with him. Monique saying, meanwhile, 905, 3 stars of the game. Jeff Sterling, Eric Curry, 4th straight win. Scoot don't mess with our guys. All right, Monique, being a positive diversion, let's go over the 905 game since they did play yesterday, and they were a huge bright spot. They really were a huge bright spot. That they played the G League Ignite yesterday, and we did see Scoot Henderson make it across the border. There were some issues with him at the border, and maybe if he was going to make the game or not, but he did make it. Now, I'm not impressed with him, guys. He didn't start. He was 4 for 10. He got ejected from the game for messing with Jeff Dowtin. Like there was some weird physicality or something. I think he's so overhyped, guys. In fact, the more I see and understand about Victor and Scoot, I don't like this draft class, and I think it's so overhyped. And I think that anybody who's tanking this year to try and get one of those guys is not going to get anywhere in success later on. It's not going to go as they think. I think the Victor sweepstakes is a big dud. And I think Scoot Henderson is not that good. Like I've heard so much about him. Sure, he's a physical specimen. He's so strong. He's got certain athletic tools, but he's not fundamentally good. And also, I think he's a weird tweener. Like he's not the right height. Like he really is a little guard. And I don't think he's a slam dunk. I don't even know if he's the second best player in the draft coming out. Seriously, the way he played last night for the G League Ignite made me think like this dude is fool's gold. He's not for real. And anybody who's buying into Scoot Henderson in certain ways, you may be very sadly like let down by who he is when he comes in the NBA. I don't think he's going to be a good NBA player. Seriously, that's my expert eyes watching a lot of basketball and scouting and looking at people, and I'm not impressed with him. In fact, I think that Leonard Miller is much better than Scoot Henderson. Leonard Miller from Fort Erie, 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 16 points for Leonard Miller. I was more impressed with him than anybody on the G League Ignite. My 3 stars for the 905 are Jeff Dowtin Jr. He was absolutely amazing. He was 8 for 8. He couldn't miss for a while, and then he ended up 10 of 13 from the field. Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. just doing it all. 3 of 4 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, plus 13, 25 points. Just an all-around fantastic game. Jeffrey Dowtin Jr., the best player in the game yesterday in the G League game. The second player I'm picking is Sterling Brown, who had his first triple-double professionally ever. 4 of 7 from the field. He hit a 3 of 4 from 3 free throws, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, and a block, 15 points. Sterling Brown, fantastic job. And then I have a really hard time picking between 2 guys for the last star, so I'm going to give up both to them. Koloko, 8 of 15 from the field, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, a plus 24. Koloko was the biggest plus minus on the court last night for 905, 17 points. And then Ron Harper had a really slow start, did not shoot well. He was like 0 for 6 in the first half and didn't have any points. And then he went crazy in the second half, 7 of 14, 4 for 8 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 22 points in the end by Ron Harper Jr. And he was talking about his dad after the game. They were talking about his dad teaching him stuff. And he said, no, it's not my dad. It's my mom. Once again, y'all need to be reminded, press, that it is not Ron Harper Sr. that is the main mentor for Ron Harper Jr. as far as his basketball skills. It is his mother who played professional basketball also and is a very good player herself. So once again, he had to correct people in his interview after the game that his mom should get all the credit in some ways. So that was pretty cool that he did that. But yeah, you know what the cool thing about the 905 is right now? And I hope that this is something that can be generated and come up into our main team. They have a collection of shooters on the 905 right now that are just deadly. There's so many good 3-point shooters in that group right now with Wieskamp, Harper, Sterling Brown, David Johnson, Ryan Hawkins, Gabe Brown, Jeff Dowtin. These guys are all really good 3-point shooters, and they shot almost 40% from 3, but they're just money. They're money from 3, and I love that. And in some ways, when they played so well last night and shot so well, like shooting percentage-wise, I was like, I hope this rubs off on the main squad. because it seems like for some weird reason, some symbiotic reason between the G League 905 and the Raptors, they seem to mirror each other with their performances in weird ways that are very eerie. And I was like, well, I'm going to test this theory. I'm saying, all right, the G League Ignite were on fire last. Not the G League Ignite. The 905 were on fire last night, and they absolutely torched the Ignite. Well, I wonder if the Raptors will be on fire tonight in a similar vein. And they were. They shot a huge high percentage and they were shooting really, really well last night. So there were some weird parallels between the performances of the 905 and the main Raptors, which I really like. But yeah, this collection of guys, there's just so many good shooters, and I love seeing it. You have so many different guys hitting threes, and they're all threats. Eric Curry, you should win out. If you get to keep the guys from the main team down there, like Koloko and Delano and Ron and Jeff, you should win most of the rest of your games and finish really, really strong and make some noise in the playoffs. Your team is stacked right now, and every single one of those guys hits threes like crazy. You should beat the shit out of everybody. You should be routing people because you have such good weapons. So you go, Eric Curry, in the 905. Continue your win streak. It's at 4 now, guys, and they can continue it. Let's go. Let's go. G saying, I did not believe a lot of this rig stuff, but it's hard not to believe it at times. Yeah, I mean, listen, you don't want to believe it because you want to believe that everything's fair and not like partial or weird or corrupt like that. But when the veil is lifted and you cannot deny that there is obviously some malfeasance, some corruption, some really weird shit going on. You can't turn away. You cannot like say, no, this is not what this is. It's very blatant and apparent what happened last night. Savage is saying, I don't blame the refs. Savage. Easy scapegoat is excusing choking in the last few minutes. Siakam turnover was bad. The 3 Fred turnovers under 4 minutes were bad, and transition D leading to wide open threes was worse. Savage, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. You know, you saw this in a totally different way than I did. They were hand holding them to the free throw line. Once again, I'm going to say this, and this is what I said earlier, just a little bit ago. The Denver Nuggets did not win with shots either. They were missing all their shots also. It was determined by putting people on the free throw line and giving them free throws. Now, if you give one side a bunch of free throws in a 3-minute span and you don't give one side any, this is what happens. So, no, dog. I mean, honestly, I could say, yeah, this would have helped us win for sure, but we didn't deserve to lose this way. And honestly, I'm gonna give you a strike just because today's so fucking painful. To have even the audacity of you to come in here and blame us for that loss last night, yeah, you're getting a fucking strike. So tread lightly. I'm in a pissed off mood. And I'm not going to take any of this kind of bullshit that you're going to try and blame our team for what happened last night. They didn't do anything fucking wrong. They could have executed better, but they were deserving of winning this game last night. So you get a strike, a very angry strike towards you. So tread lightly, seriously. Country Conk saying, good morning, Raptor Freaks. What an interesting ending to a great game. That's one way of putting it. Interesting. See, I wonder about you sometimes. As a longtime NBA fan, that single tech ejection on Scottie made me uncomfortable. I've seen hit jobs, but never that obvious. There you go. Okay, see, he's admitting it and seeing that. It is an interesting ending. I wouldn't, I have other descriptors for it, but yeah. G saying Savage, true, but the Nuggets were not perfect either, yet they were rewarded for it. That's the difference, in my opinion. Yeah, G's exactly right. G saying also Fred was smacked on one turnover very badly, and obviously they awarded the call to Joker just after that instead. Yeah, there was one play where Fred obviously got fouled and they didn't call anything. It really was biased. It was super, super biased. You can go and watch the end of that game and you'll see all the missed calls on us and you'll see all these touch weird shit and Jokic shooting free throws all of a sudden. Really, really weird. Leslie's saying, I've seen comments from Nuggets fans that are questioning the calls in the last 3 minutes. They should be happy, but they were distributed too. They were distributed too. Well, listen, I'm glad that Nuggets Nation has integrity, unlike our officials in our league. It's really good. MSJ saying the ref's name is F. Cott Soster. I hate to correct you, but what does the NBA have to do for F. Cott? Laugh out loud. You could be right, but damn, the team can take this game as a feather anyway. Silver is trash. Yeah, I'm really like, listen, all right. All right, there's some interesting news that I don't know if many people know right now. Is Adam Silver in highly the number one uh, candidate to replace the CEO of Disney. I don't know if anybody knows this. They don't haven't talked about this much, but in some ways, I'm wondering about how that will relate to him being in charge of the NBA. Is he going to leave the NBA and being in charge of the NBA to go and run Disney as the CEO of Disney Corporation? Because there's a lot of grumblings that they want him to come and run the whole ship of Disney. And I don't see how he can do both jobs. In fact, I wouldn't want him to be the NBA commissioner if he takes the CEO position of the Disney Corporation, because in some ways I see a conflict of interest and also a conflict of him not having enough time for both jobs. I'm sure the NBA commissioner job is very busy and you have a lot you have to do. And if he's going to go and do two different things like that, I'll be really pissed off. So if you're taking this Disney position, Adam Silver, then you may be getting replaced, hopefully. But if you are taking it and you're going to do both jobs, I'm going to be like, this is fucked up. There's something really weird going on with this. So I don't know if people know this, but yeah, Disney apparently has him as their number one choice to replace the CEO of Disney right now. And that is really weird to me in a way. Sue's saying, that is what I said in my email today, Lex, that the NBA is now fixed and no better than WWE because it's fake and has an agenda. Yeah. Yeah, they very much have agendas. They very much do. Mike saying Fred was getting hacked and tackled all fourth. Not gonna lie, he wasn't getting calls that should have. He should have though. There's multiple shades to everything. Yep. Jimmy's saying I'm considering going to the Nuggets game. Yeah, you want to go to the game? Yeah, it's what, next Monday? They're coming back and they're going to play the Nuggets here in Toronto next week. So yeah, that might be fun to go to that game, and maybe we need to give them some hell, like not the Nuggets, but the NBA officials, and really let them know about how we feel about what happened in Denver. G saying exactly logical. Fred was getting smacked a lot in the fourth, and they allowed it, but called soft calls the other way. They let them play physical until the last 2 minutes, then made up what was a foul. That's the thing. They can call things a certain way through the whole entire game, swallow the whistle, and allow a certain amount of contact and not do anything about it until they choose. This is how they manipulate the game, is that they decide when they want to start calling the whistle. The players don't get a warning that all of a sudden the referees are going to start calling it tight after swallowing the whistle the whole entire game. They don't get a warning. It's like a switch. They just switch it and they're like, oh, now they're calling everything all of a sudden. And that's the messed up thing. And that's what made Scottie a little like and say what he said, is that it's just annoying and it's inconsistent. And it's like they can do this really at any point, and that is how they can manipulate things with timing. It's like they don't warn the players, all right, we haven't been calling anything, and you can be as physical as possible, but for now, we're going to start calling every little thing. And the players really have to adjust on the fly that quickly to understanding, okay, now they're doing their fucking hit shot bullshit. And we can't, play the same physicalness we could like 2 minutes earlier because of this shit. It's so crazy. Shir Khan saying, sure, Jokic is a great story, but that's about it. He's no Giannis or Embiid who can dominate both ends. NBA losing fans and ratings and will ruin it by having these guys around. Could have been a classic. In some ways, it really pissed me off how Adam Silver was so like nonchalant at the All-Star break about the State of the NBA Union address. And when he was saying that, like, well, if load management's such a problem, the fans are still coming and supporting us and spending money. So I guess it isn't that much of a problem. You're being very like arrogant when you have that attitude, Adam Silver. Your product is suffering. And if your players are not going to show up like Steph Curry or LeBron, and people pay good money to come to games, maybe they will stop coming to the games. Maybe they will stop supporting the league because they see it's cheating. They see that you don't care about the best product if you don't want to do something about these problems. And why should we even pay money or support the league? That's what I'm saying. At some point, I decided I'm not a fan of the NBA. I don't support the NBA. And in fact, I try to go around supporting the NBA as much as I can, whether it's going on free tickets to the game and not paying for them or whatever I can do. So, it's just annoying. It's really, really annoying that Adam Silver is so arrogant that he thinks that he doesn't need to fix load management. Well, let's just take that attitude and apply it to all these other problems with the NBA. Well, maybe you do need to have some problems with the NBA financially to learn a tough lesson. No, on the flip side, I am so proud of the city of Toronto and what happened yesterday during the day when they put the WNBA tickets on sale for the exhibition WNBA game here in May. It sold out very quickly. There were all these tickets were gone very, very fast. They're good, affordable tickets, and the interest was very much shown in a powerful way. In fact, I kind of hate in some ways that we're doing that and showing that to them after what happened last night. It's like, look, Adam Silver, you're being abusive towards the Toronto market. Look, we love basketball and we want to support basketball. We support the Raptors very, very passionately. And we will support a WNBA team and you can make money off of us. But what the fuck? You're horrible, like with how you have a cheating league and all this kind of stuff. Like this is how you reward the financial engine of Toronto showing up for WNBA pre-sales for an exhibition game this summer by railroading their NBA team to a loss against the top team in the Western Conference in the game later that night. Seriously, Adam Silver, if you could hear me right now, you just had the Toronto market show up in a huge way. You may even get one of the biggest attendances for a WNBA game, for an exhibition WNBA game in the history of that league by this city that is passionate and wanting to support and be a part of your leagues. And you turn around and you do this something like what happens with Scott Foster that night that we just showed in the morning, that we're passionate for basketball and we want to love basketball. We were going to go and support the WNBA here in a game that doesn't even count. And we're going to put 20,000 people in that arena. And you're going to turn around and have this happen in the game later that night. That's messed up. This is how you're going to lose NBA fans. This is how you're going to lose young people that are going to be just like, it's just rigged. It's cheating. And why would I even watch this? I don't watch WWE because it's all fake and entertainment, sports entertainment. Well, is the NBA sports entertainment also? Is that what y'all are? Y'all aren't a sport. You're a sports entertainment. When Scott Foster becomes somebody who decides games like that, that is sports entertainment. Vince threw the word wrestling out a long time ago. No, don't call it wrestling anymore. It's not wrestling. This is sports entertainment. Well, is the NBA sports entertainment just like WWE and AEW? Because it does seem like it after last night. It really, really does. It really, really, really does. All right, let's keep going. Sheer Constant, sure, Jokic is a great story, but that's about it. Okay, yeah, I read that one. Fiercely saying, silver lining is Raps demonstrated they can fight and definitely have playoff potential. It was a great game until the last 4 minutes. Proud of them. Yeah, listen, we can fight, and we're going to fight all against the odds, and we're going to be badasses. But it's sad because we can see what happens when we're in a game 7 and it's very close, and we have somebody like Scott Foster refereeing, and we get screwed over in a very important, tough game. Like that's why I got pissed off in 2018 because the refs railroaded the Raptors in the last season of Dwayne Casey and put us out of the playoffs with calls and the way that they treated us. It's like the astute Raptor fans saw it. Other general fans just said, "Oh, it's just LeBronto. It's just the Cavs kicking your ass and putting you out." Well, no, they were helped a lot by the refs in that series. And I saw it as an astute fan. I could see right through how the refs manipulated the Cleveland-Toronto series in 2018 and led to Casey getting fired and us making the deal to get Kawhi. Yeah. So it's not anything new. And why should we root for a team, invest time, energy, money in watching them for 82 games this season if we're going to get all the way to the end of the season and we're in the playoffs and the fucking referees are crooked and they railroad us to lose? Is that fair? Do we have a fair chance to win a championship in this league or not? I don't think we do because you have your haves and have-nots. So what is even the point of playing the games, Adam Silver, if your league is rigged? Is what I'm going to say right now. Sheer Constant Scott was yapping even as Scottie was going off the floor. These refs are so insecure. They should be a prerequisite that you have to leave personal shit off the floor. You are not the product. Yeah, well, this ref in particular, Sheer Khan, has a history. In fact, he has a target on him. He's very much implicated in gambling schemes from before. And that's why he's so sensitive. And that's the thing. Thou dost protest too much. Scott Foster, and it really it like allows us to see that you're guilty. That the way you react and the way you act like that is basically like anybody who knows logic or like is a police interrogator or anything like that. They see that kind of behavior when somebody says something like that. They're so sensitive to it. Well, it seems like you're guilty then if you have that kind of reaction. So it's really weird. Savage is saying, all right, I get that, but you're on the road facing the number one seed. You can't leave it up to the refs. Late game execution went away from the pick and roll. Costly turnovers and an ejection was the icing on top. Yeah, but what if they couldn't control the ejection? What if the ejection was very forced and on purpose and the last little straw to complete the ref hit job? Listen, Savage, seriously, tread lightly, man. This is not the day to do what you're doing right now. Seriously, this is not the day to do it. I'm really pissed off. And I don't want to take out my anger on you because I will. I seriously will. I'm that pissed off right now. And I don't want to hear your bullshit like this. Seriously, you can say that the excuse in the world. Yeah, this is true. We're playing the number one seed. I know that. I know we're playing in Denver. I know it's a high altitude. I know it's a hard game, but we played our asses off and we deserve to win this game. I don't care if we didn't execute exactly perfect at the end of the game. We were still on line to win it. If you look at the way the game was going with the back and forth, we were still on line to win it until Scott Foster's outburst. That we were still on the right back and forth to by the end of the game, we would be the team on top. And he did the calculations in his head and the whole thing, and he realized, oh shit, I got to throw the monkey wrench in this because the Raptors are going to win this because Fred's managing it to win. So he had to be the biggest factor in it. So don't give me this bullshit. Once again, seriously, I'm going to give you a half strike this time. But seriously, don't fucking get my ire because you don't totally deserve it, but you are really asking for it because of what you're saying. Seriously, I can understand. Yeah, and I was critical of Pascal. You just make those shots, that helps. But don't get it twisted. They did not win because we didn't execute. That's not why they won. You know that. Logical saying, not gonna lie, we had the number one on their heels the whole game, and at the end became so desperate they had to throw everything at us, the kitchen sink and the neighbor sinks, and even use the a yak and the refs. Yeah, Mike, this is a great way to say it. Listen, we kicked their ass. We beat one of the best teams in the league consistently for the whole game. And it took the refs helping them to beat us in the end. That is something very positive and good. And Mike's exactly right. We were really handling them really well. And we belong with top teams. That's what I'm saying. Some of the negative Raptor fans will be like, oh, they just lost again and they fall apart. Well, the positive ones can see all the positive stuff about the game last night and how maybe we're going to win even more. We can play that kind of effort against the Clippers. You don't think we can beat them? They're in disarray right now. They're not running in like top level like Denver has, winning 12 of their last 15. No, the Clippers are a similar record to us right now. And if they're not having things gelling with Russell Westbrook, and we're going to come in there and play like we did last night, we're going to stomp the Los Angeles Clippers. So, yeah, I'm feeling really good about the team. I'm not feeling real good about the league or the referees, but I'm feeling real good about the Raptors team. Oh, yeah, I am. Jimmy's saying, all I'm going to say is no team wants to face us in the playoffs the way we were playing last night. No, they don't. They really don't. And we saw, like, listen, there was like a versatility in who we were attacking with. It was like Pascal this time. Then it would be Scottie. Then it was Jakob. Then it was this and this. And we had like different people playing off of Jakob. You saw how many two-man games he had with Fred. Obviously, there's a lot of work between Fred and Jakob last night that was really awesome. But there was two-man games with Jakob and Scottie, two-man games with Jakob and OG, two-man games with Jakob and Pascal. He really is a good hub for every single one of the other Raptors to play off of because he's so unselfish and he has such good court vision that he can find people all kinds of different places. And Scottie's cutting and he keeps moving. Jakob will find him for an easy basket. So there's so many cool things about how they're using Jakob as the centerpiece and playing off of him last night. It was so fruitful in all kinds of different ways. Really, really awesome ways. G saying, yes, Savage, but 6 calls against them in 90 seconds is unheard of. All right, it jumped. I hate when it jumps like that. I had to bring it up and it jumped, of course. All right, it's G I'm reading right now. Where is the next G comment? 6 calls in 90 seconds is unheard of. They didn't just leave it to the refs. The refs full on controlled the game. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they didn't hardly call any fouls the whole game. Like, in fact, Jack and Matt said at one point, both teams have shot 17 free throws between both teams in the third quarter. So why the fuck would there all of a sudden be a very dense period of the game with so many calls all of a sudden? Hit job. That's it. Nameless is saying, I may boycott the league. Screw it. Listen, maybe you don't even want to watch anything, but come watch me still. And I can talk about it and you can stay in the loop. But I don't know. Everybody treat it your own personal way, how much you want to do and what you want to do. If you want to get activated and like write Adam Silver, sign the petitions, get really going that direction for sure. If you feel jaded and you don't want to watch anymore, I totally respect that decision also. If you want to be like me and just be like, you know what, fuck all this shit. You put all the hardest things in the world, obstacles, the Raptors, I believe in them. I believe in Masai Ujiri when he says he wants more Larry O'Brien's. And I know somehow, some way we'll do it because we did it in 2019. So we've shown that we can somehow, some way. And it may be that the league has a rule down deep down inside they'll never let us get another one again. But I want to test that. And in some ways, I want to get it because in some ways, like I said, 2019, not enough of the average Raptor fans realizes just how much they overcame to get that championship. The average NBA fans across the league sully and poo-poo our championship, but they don't understand just how hard it was for us to get what we did because there's so many obstacles that we deal with that they don't even realize or understand. And that in some ways they should respect the Toronto Raptors championship even more, considering the history of us being put at a detriment in different ways. Whether it's the stuff we're talking about with the expansion draft and how we couldn't have any like players in the draft like Allen Iverson, whether it's like different fucking things they've done to make it harder for us in all kinds of different ways. So in some ways, I like the harder route. I like being the team that has to go the hardest route out of any other team because when we win and we get that success, we know we really earned it and we are ultimate underdogs and that we did it against their will. They didn't want us to, and we still came and took it. That's why I like being that badass. That kind of rogue is saying, yeah, you don't want us to win another championship NBA, but we fucking want to, and we're going to, whether you like it or not. That's kind of my attitude about it. Even though the odds may be completely unfair, cheating, stacked against us, and unrealistic in some ways, I don't care. If there's a way, like Seymour says, are you saying there's a chance? Well, we're going to try and make it happen one way or another. Yeah. Let's see. G-Sam, the other refs were looking around confused and they were right beside Scottie. If he said something that bad, would they have not reacted? Yeah, he didn't say anything that bad. Scott Foster very much is very savvy and smart, and he made a whole show out of it. And he used a young player like Scott, who's been very demonstrative with his emotions. It could very well be that Scott Foster had pointed out Scottie Barnes. He said, Scottie Barnes is so expressive and complaining all the time. He could be my, ultimate card to play, my ace up my sleeve, just in case things are too hairy. I could, blame him for an outburst, even if it's not anything that big, just because of his track record of going after the refs and being really demonstrative. That may have been part of the line of the thinking. It's like it may have been nothing, and Robert Hussey's face showed it because he's shocked at Scott Foster's reaction. But he has a track record, and he can say, "Oh, he questioned the integrity of the game." If he said one word like cheating, and that was why, if he said the word cheating, and that was why Scott Foster got all upset, once again, it shows that he's sensitive to it, probably because he is. Let's see. Shir Khan saying Nuggets, YouTube media were all about Murray and no mention of the reps' incompetence. I have same kind of feeling about the team as last year when we went on a big run. I see winning streaks coming soon. I love it, Shir Khan. Shine a light. Let's stay positive. Once again, we got a learning lesson last night. And in some ways, I don't know how this affects the team and their chemistry and how they feel. Maybe it makes them get more together because they're so pissed. Maybe they all feel like an injustice has happened and that they want to get back. It's a kind of thing like in a movie where the hero has things happen against them that aren't totally fair, and they rise up to the occasion and they take it out and they say, look, we're more together, bonded in like getting screwed over. And maybe we get better team chemistry partly because of this, because everybody's like, yeah, fuck this shit. We got to get them back for what happened. It's really interesting. Yeah, listen, some Nuggets people will probably be like, yeah, we were perfect. We played so good and we won, and like try and make it like they won the game themselves. But yeah, they're wrong. They know they're wrong. Cartman, yeah, yes, respect my authority. That bullshit. Yeah. Logical saying Siakam looks sick. Not gonna lie, I don't really go on those things, but I have noticed the energy isn't the same. He's not attacking the same. Flu zap his limitless motor, his most elite skill. So yeah, he's off a bit. He is definitely off since the All-Star break. He looks tired. He looks sick. He looks lethargic, and I think he has been dealing with an illness that we just don't know about. I think that's exactly right, Mike. I think you're right. David's saying, why does Fred always play the last 6 minutes of the fourth? It does not end well. David, he's supposed to. I don't understand this. All right, I don't need to protect Fred right now. Listen, it's really smart that he plays the last 6 minutes instead of the last 12. That's the adjustment that's been made this season. Before, we would play our starters the whole fourth quarter, and they'd be absolutely tired in the last couple minutes. Fred is great for having in the last 6 minutes of the game. I like him to come in with 5 minutes ago, but Nick puts him in with 6 minutes ago. That's fine too. We need him to manage the game. Once again, people, it's going over your heads what he does for us and how important it is and the intangibles. He's managing the game. He was on track to win the game last night. He said in the interview afterwards, he's like, everything was going right. I had things under control. And then Scott Foster wrested complete control of the game out of everybody's hands and made the decision for how the game would go himself. And yeah, don't come after Fred, David. There's nothing to fucking say about Fred. He needs to be at the end of the game because he's our best floor leader and manager and general. And he is the one who manages the game to help us win as far as the timing with the points scored, the flow of the game, looking for guys and getting things right. He has more experience in crunch times, and he is the guy who needs to be out there. So don't even allude that he shouldn't be out there. He should be. And yeah, I'm kind of pissed at anybody who's trying to point fingers at our guys in any kind of way. You don't come after Fred. Seriously, David, I'm pissed today. I don't want to get mad at you like I'm getting mad at Savage. Jimmy's saying a couple bad plays from Spicy and Fred. That didn't help, but still a complete ref hit job. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously it would have helped if Siakam had hit one or two of those shots. But honestly, we were still ahead, and it's not like they were hitting the shots above us to get ahead of us. The refs held their hands to get the lead. They did not take the lead on their own merit. They took the lead from the calls and the whistles. Savage is saying, I love Nick Nurse's challenge. I knew Nick Nurse's challenge was bad, but that was obvious. Hope Malone didn't challenge because it looked reversible. Then Nick kept number 19 in knowing about Hackayak. He got out coached down the stretch. That was clear. You know what? You're getting you're out, man. Fuck this shit. You know what? Listen, I'm sorry, bro. You can't do this, bro. I'm sorry. I like you, bro. But you're done, man. I'm sick of this shit. And nobody should be coming in here with that kind of energy today. Seriously. If you want to fucking criticize Nick Nurse for what happened last night, you're fucking wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nick Nurse. Listen, Jakob was 7 for 7 in a game recently at the line. And there was no problem with having him out there. In fact, Jokic was out there. So in some ways, you needed Jakob out there just to deal with Jokic to a degree in the crunch time. Man, seriously, bro, you should only be talking about Scott Foster. The fact that you're pointing out Pascal, you're pointing out Nick, you're pointing out all this bullshit. Fuck you, Savage. Fuck off. Seriously. You were fine. You were a shitty troll in the beginning. You came around for a little while, and now we have something like this happen. It shows you true colors. And I'm going to say, fuck you, man. I'll see you in other spaces in Raptors land, but not on my channel anymore. I'm sorry. Shane's saying, why is Savage still here? Savagely trying to bring negativity. There you go, Shane. You called it right before. It's so funny how you guys have me already what I'm going to say or thoughts. Sometimes you say them in the next comment, and I get to it. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, there you go. Well, there you go, Shane. Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. You go gadget with him. Yeah. Shirkan saying, Rap's only savior now is cushy leads. They're going to do us dirty, then we have to step on it and show that we can withstand any corrupt ref by ourselves. As Canadians, we have to be in the face of adversity. Yes, Shere Khan, yes, exactly. That's exactly it. This has been a game plan I've had for about 12 years since they started doing ref hit jobs to us. I would say with Kyle and DeMar a long time ago, it's like y'all need to get double-digit leads so the refs cannot be a factor in determining the game. They can only manipulate within a certain point spread. They cannot manipulate over 5 points at the end of the game. So you need to have a double-digit lead. That's why I talk about the 100% Canadian maple syrup lead, is that is the protectorate from the ref manipulation and a hit job like last night. And this is so true. You want to make sure you win no matter what, Raptors. Well, you have to really, really win to ensure it, is what I'm saying. Because that is how you can still make sure you win no matter what. Sue's saying that she just signed the petition. Thank you, Tom, for posting it. Everybody, post it and post it on your places and get more people to sign it. We'll do it. Mike saying first, Fred was the only one getting into the teeth of the defense before the collapsing. He was the only effective playmaker against the Nuggets. Great defense. And Nick wasn't really outcoached the refs. Yeah, Nick wasn't outcoached at all. Honestly, I'm really proud of him because honestly, he had a really good game plan for how to handle Jokic. He was somewhat holding Jamal Murray down. Like, he didn't really score a lot for most of the game. In fact, at halftime, Jokic and Murray had like 12 points between the two of them. So yeah, you tell me. I can't believe that he tried to say that shit. There's no way. Actually, Nick coached a really good job to play that well against the number one team in the West. Oh my gosh. All right, what is this? What is this Tom's got? Clutch point ports. Okay, this is the Andre Iguodala reacts to Scott Foster's ejection of Scottie Barnes and Raptors and Nuggets. Oh, I can't play the video while I'm on here. So oh man. Okay, yeah, I don't even understand what this stuff is saying. All right, Tom. Yeah, I appreciate that. So he's saying that what Scott Foster is being very American. Okay. Tom Duke's saying Andre Iguodala reacts to Scott Foster's ejection of Scottie Barnes in Raptors versus Nuggets. Yeah. Go check that out. Check out the link Tom has there. I don't totally understand what his point is, though. Shere Khan saying, did LeBron get a tech for losing it on that non-call against Tatum? I don't remember. This is a ref preference to the fullest. How are they going to get the fans back with this sort of behavior? So sad. Seriously. Why is there such a hair trigger? This man did not get a tech the whole game. He barely got a tech in that moment. If Scott Foster had said, all right, you get one tech and a warning, but you're not ejected, I would have been like, okay, there may be some fairness in that. But the fact that he completely threw him out with no warning and it was just so weird that it was really speaks volumes about how much he wanted to for sure make sure the Denver Nuggets won. And maybe he wanted to teach a lesson to Scottie. Maybe he wanted to, I don't know. He had some money on the game, and he's probably trying to figure out how he can make sure he gets his money right still. Leslie's saying, I wish Masai could be the next commissioner of the NBA. That'd be awesome. I know we'd get some favor. But yeah, I don't know if that's realistic. Omari saying FIBA refs are the answer. I don't know. All refs are kind of sus in some ways, but the NBA refs are definitely guilty and fucked up and weird. I don't know. That'd be cool. I think some of the younger refs that are coming up are actually legit and good. And I really want the younger generations of refs to start supplanting the old guard refs that have been around, the ones that have been around since that awful Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Lakers series in the mid 2000s. That anybody who's around that time is part of the Donaghy scandal, honestly. And that maybe they need to start cutting off all these 20-year refs and getting them out of here. I don't care if they're experienced or any of these kind of stuff. They're tainted. There's very much an official's taint in this league where these guys are tainted with the possibility of being gamblers and being crooked. So they need to get rid of the old ones. And some of the younger ones seem like they're more with it and more I may be completely wrong. They may be just as bad. I don't know. I want to think that there's a hope that the next generation of refs will be better. And, because part of the history of the refs, and I talked about this a lot last summer in my ref report overview, is that the history of the refs all the refs were from a really small radius of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I would say 60% of all the refs in the 80s and the 90s were all from Philadelphia. And they were literally the ref mafia. They called themselves the ref mafia. And they all hung out together. They all were from this. It was almost like that movie Copland, where all the cops lived in the borough of New Jersey, and Sylvester Stallone was the cop that was the cop of the cops in Copland. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a very, very good movie. But in some ways, the way that the cops acted in Copland is the way the referees act in the NBA. That they're very much a community in their brotherhood and their fraternity, and they protect each other. Steve Javie was the head of this NBA referee mafia from Philadelphia. And Tim Donaghy and Ed Malloy and all these guys are in that mafia still. A lot of these refs, if they're from the Philadelphia area, I question them. Mark Lindsay is another one. There's a few guys, if you're from that New Jersey, Philadelphia area, that they're part of this group that has historically been around. And there's all these great refs from way back in the day were all a part of it. Earl Strom, all these dudes. So it's a part of the secret society of the refs, this Philadelphia referee mafia. You can go look it up online and read all about it. This is very much part of the reason why the NBA has diversified their hiring practices with the referees in recent years, because the Donaghy scandal put a light on how they were sourcing all their refs from one geographic location in the United States. That's why we have a Matt Callio now. That's why we have an Inte Huang. That's why we have a Marat Kugat. That's why we have more women coming up and more people of color involved in refereeing at this point, and not just black and white people, Asian people also. So they want to make it more diversified and not just so Philadelphia referee mafia, obviously, because that's how the refs were for decades in the NBA. They were all from the same place, and they were all buddies, and they all looked out for each other in ways to protect themselves from, stuff. Let's see. Shir Khan saying if they fire Scott, then next month there'll be a new tell-all book coming out, how the NBA is rigging the game. So many stories come out decades later, but how does that help the teams affected by it? Yeah, the 2-minute report's kind of a slap in the face. It's like, go ahead and tell us how you fucked up the calls and we lost a game on, this is really a stolen game last night. It really, really is. And in some ways, it's really a horrible tragedy considering how the Raptors have struggled so much this year. They finally make one of their best efforts of the whole entire season. They're set up to get the reward of beating the number one team in the Western Conference and making a statement, and they're robbed of it. It is really like a crime. It is truly like a crime what happened last night. It really is. It's like a crime. Let's see. Blackhawk saying Scott Foster played his hand, and it's clear the game can be fixed without fouling. We need to be like Kawhi, silent assassins. Yeah, we just got to be so good that we just overcome all of it. And that's why Masai has to be such a badass about how he runs this team, is that he understands what he's up against and how much. I hope that they file a report or file a complaint about the game last night from our front office. I hope that Bobby and Masai put an official complaint in about Scott Foster's behavior last night. That they really should. And if there is some sort of channel or avenue to do that, they should be doing that today. They very much should be. But yeah, that's the thing. We got to be that much better. We got to overcome it all and that much better. And listen, Raptors Nation, you see how the odds are stacked against us. Why can't y'all get on board with us and not be part of the problem also? We want more and more of the Raptors fans to be supportive and positive towards the team, because can't you see how much we're going up against? And we don't need y'all to be part of the things that they're going up against, your negativity and your toxicness yourself. So if we could lessen y'all from saying, look, oh shit, I can see how the Raptors get screwed from last night. Maybe you can change your behavior about being snarky or negative or critical of them, because you can see they're busting their ass. They're getting screwed over, and they don't get the rewards of working really hard, even though they did work really, really hard last night. Really, really hard. Mike's saying we had solid rotations. The bench came out a bit rocky at the end of the third, but maintained the fourth and got the lead back in the end. And the Nuggets went all out on D. The refs weren't making calls. Yep. Also, Mike's saying, will the thrill a turnover miss rhythm drive in this first seconds of court, but got rhythm quick, even hit a top of the three key, which we have needed desperately. Otto Porter was supposed to be in that piece. Yeah, we'll look a lot better. This was his best game as a Raptor, obviously, because he scored some points. And I just like him being a threat to go out and score and attack the rim and do the things that he does. Evelyn saying, thank you for sharing the link, Tom. Smooth saying, it was so blatant. Brian Windhorst praising Denver for being crunch time. So gross. Did he watch the game? Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. What was he looking at? Brian, come on. You're just trying to solidify the propaganda about last night in some ways. Like, I can't believe how he wrote this article. And, listen, this is what he said more. Let me read this. There's no team that can touch the devastating effectiveness of the Nuggets in the clutch this season, and the Raptors couldn't either. What the fuck is that, Brian Windhorst? Seriously, that is so messed up. But you know what is funny? His article about the Nuggets, where he's talking about this, is basically saying that he doesn't think they can win the championship because they're not a good playoff team. He wrote all this stuff about them being a great regular season team, and it showed in the game last night in the final minutes against the Raptors and overcoming and winning the game. But they're not a good enough team to win the championship and do well in the playoffs, is basically what his article is. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that shit. Isaac sign it. Jan's here. Good to see Jan. The fix is in on the refs, but we also should have made our buckets to silence them. Yes, that's fair. That is fair. Seymour saying Scott Foster played over under yesterday and covered the spread. Yep. Nuggets ain't shit. Yep. Shere Khan saying 6,300 signatures and counting on that petition. I don't know if it's going to make any difference. They should just fire him to save ref integrity. FIBA is like the worst association, but not NBA, not too far behind. Yeah, FIBA, I don't think that the international refs are much better. There's probably just as much corruption. There probably is. Yeah, well, we got to do whatever we can, Shirkan. I mean, it may be like futile to do petitions and to rewrite the office, but if there's enough noise and people realize we're paying attention, maybe they will be like, Scott Foster should really be fired. He really should. Randolph saying, good morning, beloved Raptor freaks, most informative gang. Such a beautiful game ruined by referees. I know our boys made mistakes, but the carpet was pulled out from under them. I totally agree with that. Good to see you, Randolph's. Blessings to you and the Phillips family. Also, Isaac saying this will fuel Scottie Barnes. No way a game plays out like this at home. Well, he's definitely learning all the different ways you can lose and fucked up ways you can lose this season. And hopefully Scottie's really understanding this stuff and understanding where mistakes are made and how they can do better and how to try and avoid them. But also understand that sometimes you're just going to lose a game just because the NBA wants you to. And that you could do every single thing right and it doesn't matter. And I don't want him to think that this just happens to us. This happens to all the teams in the league in different ways. Now, some more than others and less than others. But Scott, don't base any decisions on whether you want to play for Toronto just because you think they're going to screw us over and again, because they'll do it to any team. Trust me. Monique saying news and notes, WNBA game in Toronto tickets are sold out already. That's exactly right. We're going to support the WNBA like this, Adam Silver, and you're going to turn around and do a ref hit job on our NBA team last night like this. Well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't support the WNBA and the NBA because it's crooked product. The WNBA may be very good, but look, we just showed an economic power for our city, and you're going to fucking disrespect our fan base and our team with a blatant ref hit job by Scott Foster last night like this? Seriously, you better get your act together and start respecting the Raptors team better because we're a good economic driver. We're good for this league, and we're a powerful team, and you're not treating us right. You're not treating us the correct way in relation to our place in the league. You don't give us any respect for our championship. You poo-poo it, and you try and make people act like it didn't happen. Well, like I said, you look at something like last night and you understand how what happened with the Raptors in 2019 is so special and against the odds. Wayne saying it's a game. We should not be this upset about a loss, but we didn't lose by Nuggets beating us. Watching sports should be a release from reality, not a reaffirmation of injustices in life. Go Raptors. Wow, Wayne. Yeah. Seriously, we already know there's corruption and life is unfair and it's bullshit. The NBA and sports is supposed to be the vacuum where we can see like just fairness, good sportsmanship, competition where competition goes in a way that's unfettered by bullshit and cheating and fucked up shit like last night. And Wayne's exactly right. In some ways, this makes us even more pessimistic about the world and hope that like the NBA is supposed to be fair and have integrity. Well, it doesn't. And in some ways it makes us think this whole world sucks because you're supposed to be escape of fairness and justice and truth in some ways. Well, you're definitely not. And we can't look at you for that. That's for sure. Mike's saying, so basically the Nuggets overclocked their defense and turned up gambling on the hand of the cookie jar swipes and physicality, and the refs weren't calling the bad gambles, increasing the Nuggets D unfairly. Yeah. Yeah, all that was happening. Leslie's saying, I agree, Callie. The NBA needs an independent judge. I think that might be a good thing. Shirkan saying, I feel like I'm wasting time watching other teams' games on ABC, TSN, and Sportsnet. I can better use the time doing more productive things. I got cabinets to assemble and computers to build, diversify. Oh, Shirkan, you make computers. Ah, cool. So you build like PCs and stuff. Very cool. Listen, I do little plugs on here. So if you have a company and you want to put them in there, I will do the plug for you if you build PCs for people and you have a business. I don't mind putting you on blast. Yeah, this is the decision I made. Is like, fuck this. I'm not going to watch another team or other sport or help their ratings or do any of that kind of stuff. Because it really is like, I don't like the NBA product overall. I just really love the Raptors, and I am a fan of the Raptors, but not a fan of the NBA, despite that. Seymour saying the cabinets are way more important. F the other teams in the league. Yeah, maybe they'll see some changes in things, as specifically in Canada, because of what happened last night. They may actually see some changes where numbers drop. And it won't be because the Raptors aren't playing very well this year. It'll be because people saw the truth about the NBA. Logical saying the Nuggets fans know their defense was over effective than Nuggets normally, and result knows something went unfairly. We had Jokic as a non-factor. Murray turned it up, and we put him out. Raps played good. Okay, yeah, Mike. Scott B saying Raptors handled the Nuggets all night. Clearly the better team. Took the NBA and the refs to beat them. Sad. Yeah, Scott B. Yep. Monica's saying, so Lex, explain to me, did you make that petition right away after the game? Is so good on you. I'm glad somebody did. No, that petition's been around for years. That's an old petition. I did not make that petition last night. I just had to do a search for Scott Foster in Google, and that was one of the first things that came up. Petition to remove Scott Foster from the NBA. Yeah, no, that's somebody made that, and that's not even from us. That's not from our fan nation. I'll bet you that's from a Suns fan. I'll bet you that's from a Suns fan or just another fan that's been screwed over by him in another nation. It's not from our nation, actually. Shirkan said the best thing to do is take the challenges away from the refs because they are the ones who made the mistakes. Why are they the ones who influencing their own calls? It should only be done at the replay center. Yeah, if the ref is arrogant, these challenges are newer, right? Okay. They've only been doing them for the last couple of years. And some of these refs have been around for almost 30 years. Well, they're not used to being challenged on calls. So in some ways, maybe the younger refs are more open to looking at their own mistakes and admitting them and overturning and like making a challenge successful. But maybe some of the older refs are not. That they're like, well, I've been in this league for 25 plus years, and I really have like a history of like getting my calls right. And how dare you? And like, I want to hold up that I'm right. And so, Tony Brothers' call will always get like unsuccessful any challenges that come at him. And I really do think that may be a factor, is that these refs never had to deal with challenges before. And in some ways, they like the Cartman thing, respect my authority. And how dare you challenge me? The audacity, because there is a lot of arrogance with the referees to a degree. There really is some weird arrogance with the older refs that have been around so long. The arrogance is so cocky and weird that it really does make me think that these guys are criminals and they're doing some fucked up weird shit. They really, really do make me think that, because their personalities become personalities in the game. And well, the refs should not be known who they are. We shouldn't know their names. We shouldn't have any idea of anything about them, because they should just be out there and they're like furniture. They should be part of the atmosphere, not an active role in the game and determining what happens. And that's part of the problem. Some of these older refs think they're characters or personalities in the game, and they want the spotlight. And they become a part of the whole show. And that's part of the problem too, is that they shouldn't be like that. They really should be blending and be anonymous and be people that we don't know who their names are. I'll know just because I do the research, but the average NBA fan should not know Tony Brothers' name. They should not know Scott Foster's name. And if you are a more well-known ref, that should be bad. That should be like, you know what? You're too well-known, Scott Foster. Fans know your name. They talk about you too much. You should really be more like Aaron Smith and nobody knows who Aaron Smith is. He's completely like blends in with everything, and he's not controversial. That's the whole thing with the refs. But like I said, I think he has something on the NBA, and that's why they can't get rid of him. They probably wanted to, but they couldn't because, oh my gosh, it's such a mess. And I really am like at this crossroads once again. What am I doing as a Raptor freak? Why am I watching and putting so much time and effort into what I'm doing for such fucking collusion and criminality? Let's see. Guardian Transit saying it has always been pretty much like this. Raps have to play a team plus the refs to win. Look, last playoff against Sixers, first two games, refs were so one sided, changing the flow of the game. This is true. This is so true. That's why we have to be so good. We have to install like things like home court advantage for when we went on our championship run. That home court advantage over the Warriors in the finals was important. That's why we have to be so much better in all kinds of ways, whether it's like winning a lot of games to have home court advantage, whether it's getting a huge lead so that they can't mess and manipulate the game through referee calls. That's what I'm saying. We have to be so much better. And once again, that's a really good example of in life how some people in life have privilege and some don't. Some people have obstacles put in front of them. And to get to the same place as somebody who had everything rolled out for them and all the privilege in the world, it's easy for them, but the other person may have had to go through so much bullshit to get to the same spot. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, it's a very good illustration of how privilege works in society. Like that is like, okay, well, the Raptors have to be that much better in what they do to succeed. It's just like some individuals in society. They have to go above and beyond and be perfect and have to do extra shit just because of their situation where other people get a free pass and bypass a whole bunch of the extra shit that they have to do to get to somewhere. So it's really interesting. It's crazy. Let's see. No, 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 no. All right. Randolph saying, Alex Kelly is impressive. He's got a brilliant future. You're talking about Kyler Kelly on the Raptors 905. He's pretty good. I don't think he's going to get any further than the G League, though. I mean, what did he do? He had 3 of 10. He only shot 3 of 10 last night. He did get 6 offensive rebounds, 6 points plus 1. Kyler Kelly, he did have 5 fouls. They played Koloko heavy last night. In fact, they had Koloko out there for most of the game, and it really was because he wasn't getting in foul trouble. And I like that. I like that Koloko got to play 30 minutes last night. This is something that's so good that he's with that team and he's playing so many minutes. He's learning so much, and he looked really good last night. He's hitting really good close shots, getting really good lobs and dunking it. Koloko is fantastic. Kelly's okay, but he's not going anywhere, Randolph. He'll play some good games for the G League, and he will never, ever be in the NBA. Trust me. Jan saying, Raptors 905 run the three-way weave much better than the Raps. Raps need to take notes. Yeah, they're doing all kinds of cool stuff on the 905 level last night. I love the firepower of all the three-point shooters. It's like crazy how good three-point shooting the 905 have right now. Guys like Hawkins and Wieskamp, those guys are just, they're snipers. And then Gabe Brown, oh my gosh. Gabe Brown has been so hot from the three recently, and the dunks and everything he's doing is so impressive. And then you add in that Ron Harper Jr. and Jeff Dowtin Jr., the two ways, are both pretty capable, good three-point shooters too. There's just so many good three-point shooting on that level. Sterling Brown, another bucket getter. He really is like Gary Trent on that level. He's just a certified bucket. If they ever need a bucket, they can give the ball to Sterling Brown, and he will find a way to score either a three or attack the basket. Really, really good stuff by the 905 yesterday. Really, really good stuff. And I was not impressed with the G League at night, other than Leonard Miller. Leonard Miller looked really good. And I'd love to draft Leonard Miller. If Leonard Miller is in a Raptors jersey, that would be such a good fit, and it would just be awesome. I'd love to see him on our team. Guardian saying, just so you all know, I complained to Twitter's NBA officials. Good. Everybody should be coming at them for sure. Blackhawk saying Iggy is referring to how Americans like to tell people to get out as a very American thing to do. Basically, Iggy calls out the bias that occurs in the country. Okay, well, I like that. I like that in that way. I still didn't totally understand it because I don't totally identify that as being like American characteristic, I guess. As somebody who's lived in both countries and dealt with ugly Americans and Canada too, that's not something that I don't know. That's why I was having a hard time connecting that whole Iguodala line of thinking. It's like, okay, so he's just telling him to get out. It's like he was so adamant. He's like, no, don't question my authorities. Just get out. No questions asked, even if it's an injustice or it's wrong. It's not like Scottie could plead to him. It's like, wait, but you only gave me one technical. Why am I ejected? He's like, no, you said something that was so bad that it warrants an ejection. What did he say? He whispered something. He didn't even wave his arms. He didn't do any kind of thing. He just whispered something, and he threw him out of the game. Logical saying, what happened to the popularity of the MLB? The more cheating, the more fans turn off, and that's clear as day. Cheating Astros and the garbage can antics still kept the championship and got money fined. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole Houston Astros scandal in recent years with the MLB has hurt them, I'm sure. And this will hurt them too. Like, especially if they continuously have this kind of stuff happen. Maybe it happens more in certain fan nations. Maybe they want to turn Raptor fans off from being passionate like us and say, yeah, well, what's the point, Raptor fans? Y'all are a little too big for your britches and you're too like much of you and you're too passionate and enthusiastic. Well, let's just kind of jade you real quick with showing the reality of the corruptness of our league. And maybe some of y'all will stop being fans and it will hurt Raptor fan nation because people are just like, yeah, what's the point? That's an interesting line of thinking with this whole thing. Let's see. Sheer Khan saying this stream could have been about a great finish by either team in an instant classic. New Denver-Toronto rivalry with Canadians on both sides. On the other side, I kind of feel bad for fans on both sides. Silver to Disney, please. Yeah, if he takes that job, does that mean he quits the NBA? He better not be trying to do both jobs because I don't think he'll be able to do the jobs justice. Because, yeah, it'd be really weird. Let's see. Daddy saying, so disappointed in Toronto sports media, whether it's Jonesy, Jack, Leo, Sherm, or Eric Smith, they seem afraid of calling out bias officiating when it's so blatantly obvious, too politically correct. Yeah, I hate that too. I mean, in some ways, they're gatekeepers like Windhorst, and as far as like trying to protect the game and not unravel things like we have today and saying, well, why is this like this? Because once they start to question things like that, in some ways, the fans will believe it even more. And then it's in some ways they realize that they may be shooting themselves in the foot. So in some ways, the decision by our Toronto media people to not do this is very much to keep their jobs and to protect the NBA themselves. That in some ways they're in on the conspiracy, even if there are officially Toronto people. They know that if they kind of put this on blast too much, it won't be good for the game. It's not healthy. And that may be their whole reason why they do it this way. Seriously. Like, I have no skin in the game. Of course, I'm going to fucking come out here and be honest and real about it in a way that they should be also. But maybe they're worried about keeping their jobs. And that may be part of it. Logical saying when Barnes went out, Poeltl had to stay in, by the way. It's not Nick making a mistake. Yeah, I didn't mind Poeltl being in the game last night. Like I said, we had Jakob in there to play against Jokic late. And you needed kind of that balance. Who you can play otherwise? It's like either going to be Yak or Precious. If you've got Nikola out there, you have to play Jakob. I'm sorry. I would have liked Gary getting in there. Okay, all right. So maybe somebody makes the argument David didn't like Fred being out there at the end of the game. Then maybe Gary should have had Fred's spot. I don't know. I don't know who you exclude to bring Gary Trent Jr. and make sure he's out there for clutch minutes, because I do agree Gary is a really good weapon to have at the end of the game, and he should be out there, Jordan Bolton. But it's a very tough decision to make. Who do you take out otherwise? Do you take OG out? Well, you're sacrificing really good defense, a guy that does a lot of things on the court that don't necessarily show up in the stat sheet. Do you take Scottie out? Maybe. And then you avoid something stupid like what happened last night. But I don't think that would have avoided it. It didn't have to be Scottie. He could have done it to any single one of the Raptors. He could have done it to Fred. He could have done it to any of them. And it would have been some fucked up bullshit, just like it. It doesn't matter that it was Scottie. It matters that Scott Foster wanted to make sure the Denver Nuggets won the game. That's all that matters. It could have been any one of those Raptors. So, yeah, I don't mind what Nick did. In fact, I don't think that he did anything wrong last night. Anybody who's criticizing Nick for decisions he made, he did a fantastic job of cultivating a very sound offense, and the team looked the best that it's looked all year. So how can you fucking be mad at the coach? Fiercely saying, can someone please share the link to the petition, please? It's in the chat further up, and Tom Duke has put it in in there. So you can find it up top. It's a change.org. Here, I'll get it. I'll try and post it again real quick for Fiercey at the bottom. There. I just posted it at the bottom. Hopefully you can see it. Isaac saying ref report should show a technical would have sufficed, not an immediate ejection. Come on. Yeah, the 2-minute report will be very curious to see what they say about this. It'll come out tomorrow or maybe later tonight. I'm really going to be curious to see how the head officials office looks at the game last night and the job that Scott Foster did, what they're going to say about it all. I mean, the thing is, though, with the tech and throwing him out for saying something, that's he said, she said shit. And there's no subjectiveness to it. Once again, so much of refereeing is not clear cut and dry, the rules. It is really the eye of the perception and the hearing of the ref. Obviously, it's the hearing in this point because it's really just hearing Scottie doing something. It's not that he did anything that he saw. He just heard him. So they really are subjective and they can make it up as they want to on the fly. That's part of the problem with it is it's like if you really want it to seem like they don't have an influence on the game, you should replace them with robots and androids. Fuck this shit. There shouldn't be humans doing this job. There should be a computer that's very cut and dry and just has a protocol as to how they call the rules, and they can sense it with sensors. They already have this kind of shit for the MLB in some ways. They don't need the plate umpire. That they could put a sensor behind the plate that could read all the pitches, and then you don't have any of this bullshit with the umps and them kind of calling flaky shit with the ball and strikes. You can in place a sensor that reads the box and it will tell you clear cut the same thing for every single thing because it's just that. It doesn't have any kind of room for error because it's a computer. And it reads the exact what it is. Well, that is a strike because it's in the strike zone. Well, that is a ball because it's outside. And there's no margin for like leniency or changing it that the ump could have from his own judgment. And how can you apply that kind of philosophy to the officiating in the MLB to basketball? How can we do that? Can we get sensors and things to figure out, well, this is this and this is this? Will the technology advance enough to get fucking Scott Foster out of his job finally, because we don't need any humans to do that job in the first place? That may be a good day, actually, at some point. That may actually save the league. That it could get so bad with the pessimism and the negativity about it being corrupt and fixed that, you know what, the commissioner of the NBA has to say, you know what, you guys have always thought our refs are corrupt. Well, you can't say that anymore because we have computers and sensors doing the job now. I think that future will save the league, and we may need it to happen like that because I think it's just going to get worse in some ways with what's happening. Let's see. Cool Cat saying we need to support our own CEBL. NBA wants the international team market money without international team winning. There you go. Like even the NHL, like when's the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup? Is there something screwy going on with you, NHL? That that the Canadians are going to spend the money and go to the games because we love hockey here in Canada, but you have trouble attracting people in the States. So it's more like you want teams to win in the States to build more enthusiasm in the league, especially in sunny Tampa Bay, where there's not a whole lot of sports enthusiasm, but there is for your hockey team because they've won a lot of Stanley Cups in recent years. That, you wouldn't have that kind of like craziness or fandom for that team if they didn't win a bunch. So you can't afford to have a team up here take a cup when you could be putting a cup down in the States somewhere and trying to grow hockey in that side of the border. Maybe. I think the Cool Cat's right. That, you know what, maybe we need to go out full effect and really support the CBL. Some people are very defined in that way with the CFL and the NFL. That they really like the Canadian, this is Canadian product, Canadian business. That's why I love the CFL over the NFL. Well, maybe we need to be a little bit like this with the CEBL and the NBA and become Scarborough Shooting Stars fans to a degree. I'm not against this at all, Cool Cat. I think it's a very good suggestion. Sheer Constant is going to be so fun when Denver is taken out by any one of Golden State, Dallas, or even LA teams if they're in the 8th seed. No fan believes in the Nuggets. It's NBA media pushing narrative. Milwaukee can win a chip again. I hope so. I'd like to see Milwaukee win again because that's not necessarily what the NBA wants. They don't like Milwaukee winning championships. They're like us. They're a small market. They're not flashy. In some ways, they want to build the legend of Giannis, and that may be the thing that helps them the most to get it there, Milwaukee, and within the NBA. But no, that's not the most attractive team for them to have win the championship. But they were in a bad place that year because Phoenix isn't either. They don't really want Phoenix to win either. So they had Milwaukee win that one, especially because Scott Foster was there and he hates Chris Paul. And he made sure, once again, he was a hit job in that finals. He made sure that the Bucks won and the Suns didn't. Scott Foster, once again, he has his fingerprints on something really fucked up. Let's see. Okay, yeah. I think the Denver's going to lose in the playoffs, but I'm not against them. I don't hate them. In fact, I have a lot of respect for them in some ways, but I do realize that they're propped up because of Jokic, and they do want to build his legend and make him look good. And that's part of why they're Golden Boys is because of Jokic. Mike's saying that's the face and heart of the team. Fred is that guy that takes looks at all the BS unfairness and takes on the challenge. So now put that in guys that have legit advantages with the underdog mindset. Spicy. This is part of the reason why we can't get any players for our team that aren't fully like crazy about winning and overcoming stuff. The guys that want to go the easy route don't want to come to Toronto. In fact, that may be the underlying thing that people said nobody wants to play in Toronto. It's not because of the weather. It's not because of the taxes. It's because they know it's going to be harder to win in Toronto because the NBA stacks things against us. And that some people will avoid coming here because they're lazy and they want an easy route. Well, guys that come to Toronto are guys that are hard workers and know it won't be as easy as some places. And they're still taking the challenge and wanting to try and win here. That is badass. And that even speaks more and more to the character that Masai and Bobby like to build this franchise with and the guys that we have right now. That is part of the reason why we stuck with this core at the trade deadline. Is look, that team last night looked badass. You don't think that if we played like that consistently most games this season, we would be very much a top Eastern team? Of course we would be. So we get off the right foot next season and get things going in the right way. We could be a top Eastern team with what we've got right now. And I'm so here for it. In some ways, I really do kind of want to just finish up the season and start over for next year. But I do know that there's still things we can do this season that'll look really, really good and be successful for us still. So not to scrap this season completely, even though it feels like it's bullshit, it's tarnished, and I hate it. And I just want to have a clean slate to start all over in some ways. Cowboys here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. What have I missed so far? Also, I know we lost. I couldn't watch the game live, but it looked like we played great overall. What was the call at the end of the game? What the fuck? Oh my gosh, Bradley. Well, really, you may want to just start from the beginning of the stream. We've gone over it. Scott Foster basically stole the game from us and did a ref hit job in a very, very apparent, very overt way. That is no denying that he was singularly the most important determinant of who won the game last night. So, yeah, you could watch the highlights of the game. You could watch the beginning of my stream, and I'll go over it pretty extensively and specifically if you want to know. But yeah, I don't feel like going over it all right now. Isaac's saying he used verbiage that directly questioned the integrity of the crew. Maybe your integrity. I don't think Robert Hussey is worried about his integrity being sullied in this situation with Scottie. It sure didn't look like from his reaction. But maybe you're a little sensitive to having your hearing verbiage that questions your integrity. Oh my gosh. A player saying that's not a foul could also be interpreted as an attack on the ref's integrity. That's some subjective shit. Very, very subjective. And all the refs have different personalities and they all have different things that they care about and don't care about. And that's what I'm saying. It's like the players have to learn other players and matchups and their tendencies and what they like to do on the court offensively or what they want to do when they guard you on defense. Well, they also have to kind of learn the tendencies of the refs and who's involved in the game and stuff like that. And that is really why I do the ref report, is because it does have a factor on games, as evidenced by last night. Shirkan saying, oh man, Fred was holding his tongue so bad. He's a real one and does not care much about the refs. He said, I'm trying to save my money, thinking about doing right for family. Nick Nurse is our guy. Sky's my bro forever. You go, Shirkan. Awesome. Cool Cat saying refs will not allow us to beat Kawhi and his Clippers either. That's another narrative the NBA want to control as well. That could be very well be it. Like Cool Cat's already saying, like the whole Kawhi and Toronto narrative is that he is the only reason why we won the championship. And God forbid the Raptors go to LA tomorrow night and they beat the Clippers and Kawhi on the court like that. You know, you may be right. I hate to say it, but you may be already predicting, like, look, they may fuck with us. I'm going to see who the ref crew is tomorrow morning, and we'll have to see if they're suspicious for the possibility of this. Cool Cat. Shane Waters, well played. Bam. Thank you, Shane. Yeah, you called it. You called it. I guess you and I have the same threshold of bullshit. And at a certain point, it's like enough's enough, especially on a day like today. Yeah, YouTube's erasing messages. Okay. I hate when they do that. You know what I've been doing, Wayne, when they do that? I just make people moderators. And when they're moderators, they don't get their messages erased. So there you go. You're a mod now. Sheer Khan saying Scott could have handled it so differently with so much light on his reputation. When he sees frustration, take Scottie to one side and talk to him. Listen to him. He sees a real person with valid point. Well, first of all, Scott Foster, you lost your temper. Whenever somebody loses their temper, they're usually the person who's in the wrong. You know, you're the one who lost your temper. Scottie didn't lose his temper. In some ways, he was very quiet in trying to deal with what just happened. And he just made an innocuous statement. But you lost your temper. And usually the person who loses their temper is the person who's wrong because they're acting out in anger. And you're the one who acted out in anger. And that, I think most people would agree with that. When you say the person that loses their temper is usually the one who's wrong. Let's see. Wayne is saying Daddy Gates said it best about our local NBA analyst, Jack Armstrong. Please keep your privileged opinion about corruption to yourself. Seniority doesn't get respect when you're a crook. Look, I really think it's just them protecting the game and their job in general. There was some weird comments on Raptors Tonight where they were a little worried about the future of the game about the All-Star break after the All-Star break because the All-Star break looks so bad. And there were things about it that just bugged them about it. And they said things like, you know, we're very lucky and privileged to have this jobs and get paid to cover a sport we really love. So I think that's the mechanism of it is that they understand this is fucked up and this bullshit, but they also understand they could fan our flames as the fans and make it even more incredulous by doubling down with us and agreeing with us. You know, to a degree, Matt Devlin and Jack Armstrong call out bullshit in the game. And when they do, I love that because they didn't used to do that. There used to be so much glossing over of fucked up shit that happened in games that fans had no idea was happening. But at least they mention it. But maybe there's a limit to how much they'll be critiquing the refs in this kind of way because they understand at a certain point it's not in their best interest because it could turn into something bigger. It could hurt the game. And then they lose their jobs and their livelihoods. So in some ways, they're protecting themselves is what it is. Sheer Khan saying at Smooth, those podcast people really don't watch the games. Go over box score and maybe the highlights. Only games they really watch are when LA, New York, or Miami's involved. Their ignorance is evident. Well, there's going to be a lot of people that will look at what happened last night and they'll already have an idea of like the Raptors just lost to the Nuggets because the Nuggets are good. And if they don't go in and look further into it, they won't understand how good we played last night. That's what will separate a casual NBA expert from a real one that actually knows and is paying attention. And in some ways, I lost points for Brian Windhorst because of the way he's describing last night, that he didn't really actually watch the game. And he was somebody I actually had a lot of respect for most of the season. But now I don't because it's obvious he didn't watch the game last night. If he's going to characterize that the Nuggets won the game by showing clutch play by themselves, no, Brian, that's not what happened. Mike saying, interesting enough, Will the Thrill has the most threes all time in Nuggets record books. Murray was about to pass him. I think he fell short. Now history is rewritten. Yeah, you know, that's true. That they showed that graphic that Will Barton is the leader in threes for the Nuggets franchise. I didn't think that was true. There's so many guys who played for that team for so many years. And in some ways, that's really an incredible accomplishment by Will Barton. But yeah, it looks like Jamal's just about to break his record, though, and he could have done it last night. Shirkan saying at Wayne, so true. Life is stressful enough, and sports is supposed to be an escape from it. Watching Cat Jamie's documentary just reinforced the idea that fans will love team and players no matter win or lose. That's true. And in some ways, we can be like that. In some ways, I did admire the way that those kids were like, we just love the Grizzlies. We don't care if they win or not. And the Grizzly truth, they were like, we don't know that they weren't winning. Well, they were little kids. They didn't give a shit because they were like 6 or 7. So in some ways, I can understand why she didn't really care about whether they were winning or losing. She just loved having a team. Yeah, well, you can be like that. That's fine. But also, a lot of fans are like, well, what the fuck? We play to win. We want to win championships. So I don't know. I don't know. That's convenient for a Grizzlies fan from Vancouver because obviously they didn't win hardly at all. So they have to be like that. But I kind of do like have a lot of respect and love for fans that just undoubtedly root for their team, win or lose. There's a lot of respect for that too. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to bring up in this whole thing. Name was saying, still going, Lex. My whole lecture. Yeah, I'm trying. I'll be finished up. I'll finish up by 3 hours. I'm not going to go over 3. Fiercely saying, thanks again for the link. On another note, Atlanta lost as well, so we're not that far behind. For everything that happened last night, as much as a travesty and injustice it is, the damage control is not that bad. In fact, in some ways, if we lose this game, we lost this game like this last night, there may be a lot of positives that come from this. Whether it's like the revelations about our team and how strong they are against a very good team, Denver, whether it is that there is more shine and more heat put on Scott Foster, and maybe he does get a little bit more in trouble, or he does get into a certain situation that ultimately ends his career in the NBA. It could be that this is a catalyst game last night and a positive way for the Raptors team as they play, and knowing that they can play and compete at that level with the top team, and also that they see that they want to replicate that. And then also, Scott Foster could be in trouble down the road, partly because of this game. So I hope that this is something. And we could have fell further. We're actually still in the same place. So damage control. Thinking about this otherwise, yeah, this sucks. It leaves a bad taste in our mouths, but we're still in good shape, and there's still a chance, and there's still all kinds of things we can still do. We're still in a good position. So. Yeah, even though we lost, but we do want to win both these games in LA now, for sure. We still want that 2 out of 3 rule. And it's too bad we couldn't get the first one. We were really going to get the first one and not have our first loss on these 2 or 3, but it was stolen. It was stolen. Just like this land was stolen from the people who lived here before us. It was stolen. That's right. Monique saying more followers since yesterday's game. Lex, keep at it. Go Raptors. Togetherness, guys. Yes, thank you, Monique. I appreciate you. Shere Khan saying, from what I'm hearing from Raps Tonight post-game show is that at worst, fouls called against the Raps were play-ons or calls for us at best. Jack doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a has-been. But you got to listen to what he's saying. He's saying that they should have been like no calls, and he's right. A lot of the calls and the trips to the foul line should have just been swallowed whistles, just like they were for the whole entire game. And that, listen, if you're not going to call this is the way it's been in the past. Like they may call calls during the game, but in the last part of the game, you swallow the whistle and you don't let the whistle decide the game. Refs know this. Well, they did the opposite. They didn't call anything the whole game, swallow the whistles the whole game, but then the last 2 minutes, they decide they wanted to whistle the shit out of their whistle. And that, to me, is a big, huge red flag because a lot of refs know that they want to swallow the whistle at the end of the game and not let teams win by going the line. And they did very much the opposite of that. They set them up with the line to try and help them win the game. So that's the weird thing about it. Now, Jack's right as far as he's saying they should have been no calls. As far as no whistles should have been called. They should have just let us play and figure it out who was going to win that way. And that is the problem. Now, once again, Jack is weird. In some ways, he's being fair. And in some ways, what he's trying to do when he says to Scottie, you can't do that at the end of the game and have it be this problem so that they get extra free throws and then it puts the game out of reach. He's doing that because he wants to look at the lesson for Scottie and the whole thing. And it may be that Scottie doesn't deserve this lesson from last night because he really didn't do anything wrong. But in some ways, Jack's being the coach that he is. And he's trying to tell the young guy, he's like, you can't let the refs do this to you. Don't give them anything. Not even a little bit of something. that they can interpret to do what they did to you last night, Scott. So I think Scottie's never ever going to say a certain word that he said last night on an NBA court ever again. And that may be the biggest lesson of it all. And hopefully that will safeguard him from ever happening this again. But then again, what could be the next trumped up, messed up thing that Scott Foster wants to just call and throw somebody out for? He can make shit up. If Tony Brothers can give a technical to Gary Trent Jr. for doing this, they can give technicals and throw people out for whatever the fuck they want to make up. And that's what happened last night. Rorschach saying, we won. It's called a moral victory. Well done, Raps. Yeah, I mean, listen, there is a moral victory in that we outplayed the Denver Nuggets and we hung with them and we hang with a really top team. Sure. Well done, Raps. Okay, yeah. I feel like we won last night and we should have won. We deserve to. Shir Khan saying, can't stand Jack anymore. It's not about first 44 minutes versus last 4 minutes. It's about calling the game fairly. Leo is a so-so these days. Eric Smith is somewhat better as younger talent. Comments below, priceless. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always stand up for Jack. I like Jack. I think Jack's pretty good still. I don't think he's like a has-been. I think he's very astute and he's very fair, and I really do enjoy his calls. So I can't get behind this. I'm not scapegoating the announcers. In some ways, like I said, the announcers are part of the establishment and they have to toe the line to a degree also. It's not like Jack can go absolutely batshit crazy about this. He could get in trouble. So, it's tough. I wouldn't come after them though, Shirkan. I'm not going to blame the announcers. They have to kind of balance things. Infamous is saying, can you imagine if this was a Lakers game? It would be leading every sportscast. Of course. There's nothing on ESPN's front page about this. And when they did the recap, the way they wrote the recap for last night's game, they made it very much sound like the Nuggets had the control of the game. They won it on their own merits. It's really, really weird. Yeah, if this had happened to the Celtics or the Lakers, this would be put on blast. There would be way more shine. You think about that thing that happened when the Lakers and Celtics played recently and the foul call late at the game with LeBron and Jason Tatum and all that kind of stuff, how much that was in the press. Well, they're not going to put this on blast. In fact, they're going to try and hide it and poo-poo it and put it away. And I may be one of the places that's putting it on blast the most, the fans, the people on YouTube, and people like me. And you won't even see the announcers. Like, I'll be interested to see a Raptors Today. If they do a Raptors Today with Paul Jones and Akil Augustine, what are they going to say? I want to see if Paul Jones is not going to toe the line like Jack is, and if he's just going to be straight up about this. Sherman Hamilton, those two guys. I want to see if they are real about this and see what they have to say about it, because in some ways they're more outspoken about things like this in an honest way than Jack, and it may be very interesting to see. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is just a damage control from last night. Mike's saying how history is rewritten is to what Wendy did. Not gonna lie, he's been like this for time. Zach Lowe actually watches the games and talks like someone who does, and the Mandela effect is going strong right away. Well, that's what I'm saying. This is a whole lesson for history, people, that history gets written by the victor. And the history of last night is written in a certain way by the ESPN writers and the NBA to not really tell the total story about what happened. In fact, archivists, people may go back and look at the box score or the write-up for the game last night and really have a whole different kind of picture of what happened if they didn't go and actually watch the footage of the game and saw it for their own eyes. Jimmy, thank you. Dub comments in the comments today, us, commiserating and talking about the injustice of last night. I hope it makes people feel better. I don't know. In some ways, I feel so angry today. I'm really going to have to do things to work this out, because I am very pissed off. I was pissed off last night, and I continue to be pissed off as soon as I woke up this morning, and it has not changed. And I was hoping the stream would work some of it out, but I'm still pretty mad. Isaac saying, better to lose like that now. The team is coming for upsets. Oh, yes. And, listen, I hate to think that we'll get ref hit jobs in the playoffs like we did against Philadelphia last year, but we probably will. And in some ways, we need to be training for it. Like last night was a training exercise of knowing how the ref hit job could come at any time. Yeah, it's crazy. Mike's saying also, salute to Infamous. No question about that. If it was any other team, the talking heads would be on the refs. Thing of the day. Salute Salute to infamous and to logical Raptors fanatic. Not every single team. It's certain teams. The Celtics, the Lakers, the Nets, the Knicks, the Golden Boy teams. But if this happened to some lesser team like the Hornets, no. Portland probably they wouldn't care. Oklahoma City, Orlando, if their team's not very good, there's all other factors. There's certain teams that very much will get put on blast for this for sure. Wayne saying Jack may be right, but Scottie did nothing to deserve being thrown out of the game. That's the point. Play and shut up is not an option we endorse. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think Scottie did anything that bad or wrong. I mean, he's really like mystified about it. You could tell like he didn't even understand that he had to leave. And Scott Foster got so pissed when he wasn't leaving. He's like, no, get out, get out. That's why I'm saying he really had to make sure it took and that he forced his will on it. Because in some ways, I don't know, Nick had already used a challenge. Maybe that was a piss poor challenge to do because he ate up his last time out when he did it too. That maybe he needed to keep that challenge just in case, but he was reading the whole thing of how it was going. And he's like, this is an important thing to try and stop. So let's try and do it now. I'm going to calculate to do it now, but maybe he should have had it still. I don't know if he could have challenged technical and a ejection like that because obviously that's Scott Foster's decision in that moment, solely his decision. No decision by Robert Hussey or Nick Booker, just the decision of Scott Foster, all singularly by himself. So I don't know. You can't challenge that. That's not a challengeable call. So I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. Monique saying Matty D was all of us last night. Yeah. Well, all right. Listen, I'll do a little wrap up real quick. There is a petition that if y'all want to sign it to get Scott Foster fired from the NBA. Brian Windhorst, fuck you for trying to paint over what happened last night on ESPN as a great Denver victory. Scott Foster, you say he was ejected on one technical foul because he used verbiage that would directly question the integrity of the crew. Well, listen, I think most people are questioning the integrity of the crews even more because of your actions last night. In fact, Scottie is not, he's a little small nothing as far as questioning the integrity of you. At this point, you made it even worse. And in fact, that may be the thing that is a lesson in this. You're worried about him questioning your integrity. Well, now you should be worried about everybody questioning your integrity. Fucking Scott Foster. Oh my gosh. Mike saying fair points, Lex. I just wanted to drive that point to show the media is heavy that way, but I did stretch it a little. Certain teams would be more correct, no doubt. Yeah, there's haves and have-nots, and we're not the only team that gets the short end of the stick. There's a lot of teams in this league do, but there's definitely teams that get more favor in all kinds of situations, whether it's the schedule making, the refereeing, whether it's the media, the way they portray them and put things like, look at how the Lakers are put on blast all over the place. Do they deserve it? Maybe because LeBron's there, but their record does not deserve it. The way that they play the last couple of years don't deserve all the national TV games. And that's why Charles Barkley said, why are we showing the Lakers? They're garbage. Why do you golden boy the Lakers so much? Because they're a big money maker and there's so many fans about them? Yeah, that's why. But still, that's unfair. What is the merits of them deserving all that in their current condition with how they perform? So, oh man. All right. Anyway, I just want to finish this stream. I don't even want to wrap it up or say anything. The Raptors played really good last night. They deserve to win. The G League kicked. The G League Ignite got their ass kicked by the Raptors 905 last night. That was fantastic. The Denver Nuggets got their ass kicked by the Raptors last night. That was fantastic. It was a big, huge win in a lot of ways for the Raptors last night, just not in the records and not in the standings. And that's bullshit. All right. Well, I'll be back tomorrow with the preview. I hate the game last night. I'm so pissed off. And I totally understand if anybody's jaded at this point and they just are like, what the fuck? Why are we even fans? Why do we even support this league? Why do we even care about any of this shit? So Isaac's saying W for Raptor Freak, 2023 champion. All right, Isaac Campbell. I appreciate y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, and just try and have a good Tuesday. this may be a good day to just like forget about the Raptors' existence for the rest of the day and just go about finding other stuff. Go build some cabinets and PCs, Shere Khan. Go and do your jobs and do whatever you do in your life to enjoy yourself, to get your mind off this. And tomorrow we'll tackle the Clippers and figuring out how to beat them in the morning. But otherwise, I think we need a break, just a break. If you're mad and you can't get out of your mind, go ahead and focus that energy into coming after Scott Foster, whether it's through a petition or an email or whatever. What a fucking bullshit game. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm just gonna go. Let's go Raptors. Fuck the NBA. That's what I'm gonna say right now. Let's go Raptors. Fuck the NBA. Let's go Raptors. Fuck the NBA.